Chapter 1486. Let me die a horrible death? Yun Jian seemed to have heard something interesting as she stopped and looked up at Brother Xiong and the rest, her tone tinged with interest. Don't think that I'm afraid of a little girl like you. I'm from the Nine Valleys gang. Our brothers are gathering here today. There are hundreds of us. If you know what's good for you, you'd better apologize quickly or else. How about I strip you naked and let all our brothers here enjoy you? Brother Xiong was quite afraid of Yun Jian in the beginning, but he was no longer afraid of Yun Jian when he saw that he had the upper hand. He revealed his trump card openly and waited for Yun Jian to beg for mercy. Brother Xiong thought that Yun Jian would be frightened by his words or kneel down and beg for mercy like he did earlier. He could then do whatever he wanted to Yun Jian and the rest. Yun Jian did not. Yun Jian remained with her arms crossed as she looked at Brother Xiong and the rest with interest. They were from the Nine Valleys gang. It piqued Yun Jian's interest. The Nine Valleys gang was the second largest gang in Longmen City. When Dragon Head Gang, also known as Falcon Hall, was still in Su Ziqian's hands, the Nine Valleys gang's influence had almost surpassed Dragon Head Gang. Since Yun Jian took over Dragon Head Gang and changed its name to Falcon Hall had become the biggest gang in Jia province. What was the Nine Valleys gang? They might have some status in Longmen City, but to Yun Jian's Falcon Hall, they were nothing more than a speck of dust that could not be bothered to clean up. It was only when Brother Xiong mentioned the Nine Valleys gang today that Yun Jian suddenly realized that there was a gang called the Nine Valleys gang in Longmen City. Seeing that Yun Jian did not speak, Brother Xiong paused and added, Why aren't you afraid? Why should I be afraid? Yun Jian simply walked in through the door of the private room. She randomly picked a leather sofa and sat down. Then she propped her chin up with her elbow and sneered at Brother Xiong. Seeing that Yun Jian was so lazy as if she was at home, Brother Bear was very unhappy. However, just looking at Yun Jian's delicate face made Brother Bear's heart itch even more. Did you not hear it or did you not notice it? The people in the private rooms nearby are all brothers of the Nine Valleys gang. There are over 100 of them. You're a little girl, aren't you afraid? Besides, the Nine Valleys gang is Longmen City's second largest gang. Are you really not afraid? I don't believe it. Big Brother Bear purposely emphasized the name of the Nine Valleys gang. Normally, when a girl heard that he was from a gang, her face would turn pale with fright. But when Yun Jian heard about the Nine Valleys gang, she heard that Brother Xiong and the others were from the same gang. It was as if he hadn't heard anything. Nine Valleys gang. Yun Jian suddenly called out softly. Hearing Yun Jian mention the Nine Valleys gang, Brother Bear thought that Yun Jian must be afraid, so he lifted his head and said proudly, That's right. I'm from the Nine Valleys gang. I should say that all of our brothers here are from the Nine Valleys gang. So, are you scared now? If you are, take off your clothes obediently. If you serve us well today, I'll let you go. Otherwise, just as Brother Bear said that, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and smirked. Nine Valleys gang, I almost forgot that there's a second gang in Longmen City, the Nine Valleys gang. I'd really like to know why you Nine Valleys gang members are here for a gathering at Falcon Hall's bar instead of your own bar. Falcon Hall's wine bar. Yun Jian's words stunned Brother Bear and the others. Could this young girl, Yun Jian, be from Falcon Hall? Chapter 1487. Yun Jian's words sent Brother Xiong and the rest into a frenzy. Before they could say anything, however, Yun Jian's voice rang again. Thanks for the reminder. There's still a Nine Valleys gang in Longmen City, but you won't live past tomorrow. A mountain could not accommodate two tigers. Yun Jian's vision had never been limited to Longmen City. Back when Qin Sini was kidnapped, Yun Jian had gone to the Nine Valleys gang's boss, Yuan Shuxiao. This was because Yuan Shuxiao's sister, Yuan Xiaoyu, was the one who knew about the incident back then, or perhaps she was the one who plotted it. Yun Jian did not pursue the matter, but it did not mean that she did not remember it. She simply did not expect a gang like the Nine Valleys gang to exist in Longmen City. It was not too late to think about it now though. What do you mean? Do you know what position the Nine Valleys gang has in Longmen City? We're the second largest gang in Longmen City. Do you believe that I'll kill both of you? Although Brother Xiong and the rest were taken aback by Yun Jian's Falcon Hall, they doubted the meaning behind Yun Jian's words. Could it be that Yun Jian was someone in Falcon Hall? Thinking about it, how could a young girl who looked around 16 years old join a gang like Falcon Hall? Brother Xiong and the rest did not intend to join the Nine Valleys gang. They had chosen to join the Nine Valleys gang because they could not join Falcon Hall. To Brother Xiong and the rest, Falcon Hall's members were strictly vetted. They were not allowed to steal, rob, do anything illegal or collect protection fees. In short, Those who joined Falcon Hall had to be honest and upright. They were not allowed to do anything illegal. This was not something a gang member should do. Thinking about it, even if Yun Jian was a member of Falcon Hall, she must be an insignificant person with no name or status. How could Falcon Hall implicate the Nine Valleys gang because of such a nobody? It was impossible to think about it with one's brain, so Brother Xiong was not afraid of Yun Jian at all. He even thought that Yun Jian was spouting nonsense. Could it be that she was afraid of them, so she decided to pretend to be from Falcon Hall so that she could scare them and take the opportunity to escape? The more Brother Bear thought about it, the more he felt that this was the case. He rubbed his hands together and felt that instead of enjoying Wang Can, it was better to have Yun Jian. Just thinking about it made Brother Xiong feel that his lower body was already swollen. He rubbed his hands and walked over to Yun Jian. "Little beauty, just give in to me. It's not like you'll lose a piece of meat." As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Jian's expression changed. She stood up and kicked Brother Xiong away. Then she looked coldly at the crowd and said softly, "Tell Yuan Suxiao to get in front of me." Is this how he has been teaching his gang members to run amok for the past half a year? Yuan Suxiao was the boss of Longmen City's second mafia group, the Nine Valleys Gang. He was present when Yun Jian killed Wolf Blade, who was ranked top 10 in the assassin ranking. "Do you really know our boss?" Brother Bear, who was sent flying by Yun Jian's kick, only came to his senses after a long while. He clutched his chest at once and stared at Yun Jian blankly, asking in fear. Brother Xiong's brothers around him were slightly stunned as well. It was obvious that if Yun Jian really knew their boss, everyone present would be doomed. If Yun Jian was a relative or friend of their gang's leader, it would be even more plausible. Brother Xiong was slightly scared. It was then that a steady silhouette came through the door with a group of people following behind him. Boss?" The people in the room were shocked when they saw Yuan Suxiao walking in from outside the room. "Speak of the devil and he will appear." "Boss, here there's a crazy young lady here who asked you to get in front of her. She's..." Once Brother Xiong heard that his boss was here, he scrambled over, thinking that he had to criticize Yun Jian in front of Yuan Suxiao as soon as possible. Hearing that someone wanted him to get in front of her, Yuan Suxiao was slightly taken aback before he turned to look at Yun Jian. Even after half a year, Yuan Suxiao could still recognize the girl in front of him at first glance. Was she not the young lady who killed Wolf Blade, who ranked 10th on the assassin ranking all by herself? She was also. Chapter 1488. Yuan Suxiao and the rest of them did not know that Ding Ding Bar was Falcon Hall's property. It was not a secret, of course. No one in the know had revealed it, so it was only natural that outsiders would not know about it. As the boss of Longmen City's second largest mafia group, the Nine Valleys Gang, Yuan Suxiao did not inquire about who owned Ding Ding Bar. Ding Ding Bar's performance was astounding, monopolizing the nightclub business in Longmen City. Although there were outsiders who were interested in the person behind Ding Ding Bar and wanted to get to the bottom of the matter, no one could find out anything about the founder of Ding Ding Bar. Therefore, it was not surprising that Yuan Suxiao wondered why Yun Jian was here. Yun Jian was Falcon Hall's boss after all. Why would she be here? Yuan Suxiao's greeting of Falcon Hall's boss stunned Brother Xiong and the others. Falcon Hall's boss? Oh, could it be that the person who called her Falcon Hall's boss was this young girl who looked delicate and pretty with a hint of brashness? Brother Xiong and the rest turned to look at Yun Jian. Her mouth opened and widened at a speed everyone could see clearly until she could not close it. Are you saying this girl is Falcon Hall's BB boss? Brother Xiong asked Yuan Suxiao in shock as he gaped at Yun Jian. Yun Jian was Falcon Hall's boss? This girl who was not even 18 yet was Falcon Hall's boss? What kind of joke was this? Go away. What girl? Don't talk nonsense. This is Falcon Hall's boss, slaying Luo. Yuan Suxiao slapped Brother Xiong away when he heard the question and went to Yun Jian, like he was waiting for Yun Jian's reply. Brother Xiong and the rest were so scared that their faces turned pale. They stood there in a daze. He had thought that Yun Jian was just an ordinary girl and even had the thought of taking Yun Jian as any other girl and forcefully possessing her. Who would have thought, Yun Jian? Falcon Hall's boss, slaying Luo? This little girl was actually the boss of Falcon Hall. She really was from Falcon Hall. They had offended the boss of Falcon Hall. The faces of Brother Xiong and the others darkened as if they had just eaten dog shit. Everyone in the room was stunned. Everyone stared at Yun Jian, who was standing in front of Yuan Suxiao. Although she looked petite, her aura was so strong that no one could look at her directly. That was Longmen City's legend. That was Falcon Hall's boss, Rakshasa. That was a 16-year-old girl in the prime of her youth. Even Yuan Shuxiao had to lower his head slightly in front of Yun Jian. In terms of aura, Yuan Shuxiao had no choice but to submit. At this moment, there was only silence in the boisterous bar. Everyone was looking at Yun Jian in a daze. Even Yuan Shuxiao was no exception. What Yuan Shuxiao did not expect was that Yun Jian had already shown off her abilities when they first met. Half a year later, Yun Jian had already led Longmen City's top mafia group, Dragon Head Gang, which was now Falcon Hall, to become the top mafia group in Jia province. When Yuan Shuxiao asked Yun Jian earlier, Yun Jian had been standing in front of everyone without saying a word. The room was silent as no one dared to speak up. Yuan Shuxiao had been waiting for Yun Jian's reply. As time ticked by, it was so long that Yuan Shuxiao thought that Yun Jian would not reply to him. Chapter 1489. Ding Ding Bar, was a property under her? Did this mean that Ding Ding Bar was Falcon Hall's property? Everyone's faces darkened when they heard the news. Who did not know about Ding Ding Bar now? In Longmen City, Ding Ding Bar's performance was growing day by day. Other than Ding Ding Bar, the other bars in Longmen City were on the brink of bankruptcy. Only Ding Ding Bar's performance was still on the rise. Under such circumstances, countless people in Longmen City paid close attention to the person behind Ding Ding Bar. Everyone wanted to see who was running Ding Ding Bar to be able to crush the other bars in Longmen City and turn the tables when the other bars were on the brink of bankruptcy. Who would have thought that Ding Ding Bar was Yun Jian's? Ding Ding Bar was Falcon Hall's? Even Ding Ding Bar is Falcon Hall's property? Yuan Shuxiao was completely dumbfounded as well. He froze for a moment before asking Yun Jian. If it's not mine, then it's yours. Yun Jian smiled and pulled over a stool beside her to sit down. She crossed her right leg over her left leg and looked up at Yuan Shuxiao with a raised brow. No, that's not what I meant. Yuan Shuxiao was taken aback and was about to explain himself when he heard the call. Yun Jian, who was sitting on the stool in front of him, made a call and spoke to the person on the other end. Room 519, let's talk. Yuan Shuxiao didn't hear clearly what the person on the other end of the phone said, but he had a hunch that the person who came was definitely not a simple person. No one in the room dared to speak as Yuan Shuxiao waited for Yun Jian to speak. Yun Jian looked up at Yuan Shuxiao and said, "Your Nine Valleys gang has offended me. I'm very upset and want to wipe out your gang. What do you think?" Yun Jian said it casually, but Yuan Shuxiao broke out in a cold sweat when he heard it. Falcon Hall's boss who offended you. I'll definitely find him and chase him out of the Nine Valleys gang. What Yuan Shuxiao was most afraid of had come. Falcon Hall was getting stronger now, which meant that his Nine Valleys gang was getting more dangerous. Yuan Shuxiao had been keeping a low profile for the past 6 months, afraid that he would go up against Yun Jian's Falcon Hall. In spite of it, what he was worried about had come without warning. Just as Yuan Shuxiao was about to admit his mistake and protect his Nine Valleys gang, Yun Jian cut him off. No need. I'll give you 2 choices. 1 Nine Valleys gang's 2 join Falcon Hall. She Yun Jian would never leave a tumor in Longmen City. Longmen was the headquarters after all. She would wipe out all the gangs in Longmen City without a doubt. Yuan Shuxiao's voicings, Yun Jian's, Yun's, Yun Jian's by Yun Yun's. Yun Jian was halfway through her words when 2 silhouettes entered the room. Both of them were dressed in formal suits. They were in their 40s but looked like they were in their 20s or 30s. They were none other than Zhang Zhifan and Su Zetian. Zhang Zhifan and Su Zetian spent a lot of time together, drinking tea and sparring when they were free, or talking about the direction of Falcon Hall and new crews. They were living like gods. When they saw Zhang Zhifan walk into the room, everyone in the private room was filled with respect for him. Zhang Zhifan had represented new crews and attended many press conferences and automobile exhibitions. He was a prominent figure who was often exposed in the media and newspapers. Therefore, when they saw Zhang Zhifan, everyone in the private room was filled with respect. It was because Zhang Zhifan had started from scratch and achieved what he was today in less than a year. Could be said that Zhang Zhifan was the goal of many young people. Sister Jian, we're here. While everyone looked at Zhang Zhifan with slight admiration, Zhang Zhifan suddenly went to Yun Jian and lowered his head slightly at Yun Jian in front of everyone, calling out softly. This shout frightened the people around him. Sister Jian? The CEO of New Crews, Zhang Zhifan, was calling Yun Jian sister? What did this mean? Someone who could make New Crews' CEO call sister. Could Yun Jian be? Chapter 1490. Yun Jian responded softly as if she was used to it. Her response made the surrounding people even more terrified. Rakshasa. Rakshasa. Don't tell me that new cruise is yours as well? Yuan Shuxiao looked at Yun Jian in fear and asked the question that was on everyone's mind in front of everyone. Yuan Shuxiao's question attracted everyone's attention. Yuan Suzhao's question was exactly what everyone was thinking. Therefore, when Yuan Suzhao asked this question, the surrounding people all turned to look at him. At that moment, everyone in the room had their eyes on Yun Jian. Other people aside, Brother Xiong had been staring at Yun Jian since the beginning as if he wanted to bore a hole through Yun Jian with his stare. Other things aside, Yun Jian's impact on everyone was too shocking. Not only was she the boss of Falcon Hall and the founder of Ding Ding Bar, but she was also the boss of New Cruise? Just as Yuan Shuxiao finished his question, Yun Jian wiped her lips and nodded lightly. Yes, is there a problem? Was there a problem? There was a problem. There was a huge problem. Yuan Shuxiao almost screamed out loud. Yun Jian had killed Wolf Blade, who was ranked 10th on the assassin leaderboard. That was already shocking enough. This was buried deep in Yuan Shuxiao's heart and he dared not say it out loud. Now, Yun Jian was not only the boss of Falcon Hall and the founder of Ding Ding Bar. She was even New Cruise's director? Oh my god. Did she have to be so heaven-defying? She was only a 16-year-old girl. What was a 16-year-old doing? She was asking her parents for money, she was enjoying the throbbing heart of youth, she was in a relationship, and because she liked someone she was doing everything she could to get to know him. What about Yun Jian? Yun Jian did not stand up from her seat. She tilted her head to look at Zhang Jifan and said, "Report the profits for the past 6 months." As she spoke, she rested her slender fingers on the side of her forehead and closed her eyes to listen to Zhang Jifan's report on his earnings. In the past 6 months, the headquarter company's net income is 100 million. Including the companies that joined, the net income is around 50 million. That's a total of 150 million. Since January, the net income has been increasing every month. It's about 5% every month. Zhang Jifan was not afraid to let the people in the room know about this. He reported to Yun Jian in front of everyone. Every time he spoke, the Nine Valleys gang brothers in the private room would be dumbfounded. This company's income for the past 6 months was 150 million, and it was increasing by 5% every month compared to the previous month. How much money would it be after a few years of development? And that was net income. How much is Ding Ding Bar's income this month? Yun Jian asked Zhang Jifan with a hand on her forehead. This month's net income is 1 million. Su Zetian replied. Ding Ding Bar was not as profitable as New Cruise, but Ding Ding's net income was enough to scare a bunch of people to death. No wonder Falcon Hall did not allow their members to steal or rob commoners, nor did they allow them to collect protection fees. It was all because Yun Jian was rich. She did not need it at all. This teenage girl had a net worth of more than 100 million at such a young age. In this era, it was enough to scare people to death. Chapter 1491. This was the result that Yun Jian wanted. Hearing Yuan Shuxiao's words, she curled her red lips into a faint smile. Welcome. Yun Jian did not have the habit of shaking hands. Sitting in her seat, she glanced up at Yuan Shuxiao and greeted him with a smile. Yun Jian did not like fighting and killing. She liked to recruit a bunch of people to her side without expending a single soldier. The truth was that Yun Jian had indeed recruited Yuan Shuxiao and his gang without expending a single soldier. Since the Nine Valleys gang has joined Falcon Hall now, I'll have to get rid of some trash before I join. Yun Jian placed her hands on both sides of the chair's armrests and pushed herself up gently. That pair of sharp eyes suddenly glanced sideways and stared straight at Brother Xiong and the others. Realizing how he had treated Yun Jian earlier, Brother Xiong shook his head at Yun Jian, looking like he was begging Yun Jian not to remove them from the gang. That's them. Kick all of them out of the Nine Valleys gang. Yun Jian pointed at Brother Xiong and his gang as she uttered the words with a soft smirk. What? Brother Xiong looked like he wanted to say something, but Yun Jian had already turned to walk out of the door. Watching Yun Jian walk out of the door and go further away, Brother Xiong and his gang could only watch but could not stop her. At this moment, their fates had been decided. Since Brother Xiong and his gang had offended Yun Jian, the consequences would be unimaginably dire. After leaving the private room, Yun Jian returned to the VIP room to discuss New Cruise and Falcon Hall's direction with Zhang Jifan and Su Zetian before going home. She stayed at home for another day before heading back to Min City the next day. Siyi returned to Anhun Group as well. Qingyu was still in Longmen City staying with Yunyi. Qingyu stayed in Longmen City with Gunyanji. Si Luo was envious that Qingyu and Gunyanji could stay together. She wanted to stay and go to school with both of them. However, each time Si Luo mentioned it, Shuang would drag her away with a dark expression like he could not poop for 300 years. He did not even give her a chance to consider. Yun Jian's return to Min City's military academy had caused a stir before she even stepped through the school gates. She was not famous for her prowess but for going against the instructors. Her classmates who were at the food festival had seen Yun Jian going to snatch the helicopter, but they did not see it clearly when Yun Jian snatched the helicopter. Therefore, just as Yun Jian returned to school and before she even stepped through the school gate, students were already pointing at her and whispering, "Look, that girl's the one who's going against the instructors last week. She's amazing. She ran in front alone, and even a bunch of instructors couldn't catch up with her. Damn, this woman is so awesome. That's right. She's more than amazing. She's amazing. She's going against the instructors. She's digging her own grave." A large group of students who passed by pointed and gossiped about Yun Jian. They had all seen how Yun Jian went to snatch the helicopter. However, as the field was far away from the food festival, the few students who saw Yun Jian snatching the helicopter were pulled away by the instructors to keep their mouths shut. Therefore, not many people knew about it. Yun Jian ignored the gossip and went straight back to the classroom. Just as she arrived, before Yun Jian could enter, Lin Wan pulled Yun Jian to an empty space in front of the classroom and whispered to Yun Jian. Chapter 1492. The students all thought that Yun Jian had offended the instructors. After all, she was just a student. She didn't listen to the instructors and insisted on rushing forward, causing a bunch of instructors to chase after her. If Yun Jian didn't offend the instructors by doing such a thing, then what was it? Therefore, under such circumstances, the students all thought that Yun Jian had caused the students in the class to be scolded. Moreover, Yun Jian was so outstanding during the military training and even won first place in the outdoor survival event. This result indeed made many people admire Yun Jian, but at the same time, there were also many people who hated Yun Jian. People's jealousy was scary. Those who admired Yun Jian would definitely show their admiration on their faces. However, those who were jealous of Yun Jian wouldn't show their jealousy on their faces. When something happened to Yun Jian just like this time, when Yun Jian was chased by so many instructors, those who were jealous of Yun Jian would say that Yun Jian had offended the instructors and implicated all the students in the class. In this way, those who were jealous of Yun Jian directly pulled those who admired Yun Jian to their side. They planned to use some dead cockroaches, fake snakes and other toys to scare Yun Jian. Lin Wan, who knew about this, quickly ran over to inform Yun Jian. She was afraid that Yun Jian would really be scared, so when she saw Yun Jian walk to the door of the classroom, she pulled Yun Jian to the empty space here. Oh? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. She raised her eyes and looked at Lin Wan. She smiled slightly and said, "Let's go back to the classroom." Yun Jian, then you must be careful. Don't be scared. Lin Wan frowned and said to Yun Jian. Lin Wan said that because she was concerned about Yun Jian. She naturally wasn't scared. Yun Jian nodded and then walked side by side with Lin Wan to the classroom. She's coming. Yun Jian is coming. She must be scared to death later. The students in the classroom had been paying attention to Yun Jian for a long time. When they saw Yun Jian and Lin Wan talking for a while and walking over, the students whispered to each other. Did they put the dead cockroaches and fake snakes on her seat? Yes, put them in her drawer. I guarantee that she will be scared to death later. Who asked her to offend the instructors and even want to implicate us? This is her end. Speaking of which, Yun Jian's so good. What if she's not afraid of these things? I heard that Yun Jian killed a huge wild boar on the first day of military training. Tisk. You're bluffing. I didn't see it. Besides, which girl isn't afraid of these things? Just wait and see. At this time, Yun Jian entered the classroom. When the students in the class saw her, they immediately shut their mouths. The students in the class all thought that Yun Jian didn't hear their whispers, but in fact, Yun Jian heard them clearly. Lin Wan watched worriedly as Yun Jian walked back to her seat. The surrounding students were full of anticipation as they watched Yun Jian sit down and then open her drawer. The moment she opened the drawer, Yun Jian saw 5 or 6 dead cockroaches and a fake snake in her drawer. As expected, the expected scream didn't come. Yun Jian grabbed the fake snake from her drawer and then looked at it for a few seconds. The students saw her frown slightly and whispered, "The workmanship of this snake is so rough. They didn't even produce the characteristics of a snake. This manufacturing factory should be facing a crisis of closure." When she said this, the students present were all dumbfounded. The students were waiting for Yun Jian to scream. Shouldn't a normal girl scream when she saw this? Chapter 1493. The surrounding students were dumbfounded. After all, there weren't many people like Yun Jian. Others were worried about whether they were afraid or not, but what about her? She actually directly evaluated this fake snake and concluded that the factory of this fake snake should have closed down. Ah! You can tell whether the factory of this snake has closed down just by looking at the workmanship of this snake? I'm dying of laughter. Simply, do you think you have the ability to prophesy? Do you think you're a god? Or do you think you're a prophet? I'm dying of laughter. You're really going to make me die of laughter. One of the boys in the class laughed out loud, and the laughter was extremely ear-piercing. This boy didn't like Yun Jian very much because of Yun Jian's strength. Yun Jian's strength was really too strong, so strong that a boy couldn't compare to a girl. Most of the students in the class were male. Except for a few male students who worshipped Yun Jian, most of the rest were quite disgusted with Yun Jian. After all, Yun Jian's strength was here. Even the male students couldn't compare to Yun Jian, so as a boy, they would definitely have opinions. Most of the boys didn't like girls who were stronger than them, and the boys in the class were naturally the same. The boy who stood up to accuse Yun Jian was having a good time. Just as he said that, another meek voice of a man rang out, "Young man, you're right. Cough cough. This fake snake was my childhood toy. That manufacturing factory has really closed down because this fake snake was manufactured by my uncle's factory. Now the factory has been closed for more than 5 years. It was the boy who came to the classroom with the fake snake. The boy was very unwilling to admit this fact, but he couldn't. The truth was that he wasn't good at lying. As soon as these words came out, the face of the boy who just ridiculed Yun Jian instantly turned pale. It was as if he suddenly had constipation while squatting in the toilet. As soon as the boy who stood up and said that the factory had closed down finished speaking, Yun Jian threw the fake snake at the boy's face. The boy was suddenly embarrassed by his fake snake. His whole body trembled fiercely. Obviously, the moment he received the snake, even he didn't realize that this snake was his. It was fake and not real. Don't do such a childish thing in the future. You're targeting me this time. If you target an ordinary girl and she is scared to death by you, can you bear the consequences? Yun Jian looked down on such people the most. She sneered. There was once a news report that, as a joke, she used a toy like a fake snake to scare her classmates, and as a result she was scared to death. It's obvious. Pretending. Shameless. Lin Shuya, who had always been at odds with Yun Jian and was knocked out during the military training last time, had no idea what happened last time when the instructors put her fake corpse on an isolated island to scare the other students. She glanced at Yun Jian coldly, at odds with her as usual. By the way, I don't know if you know, but Officer Gu, who was said to be in trouble last time, was rescued from the dungeon of the world-famous underground black market boss, Glen's headquarters. I heard that no one has been able to come out of that dungeon alive since it was created. This time someone brought someone out of the dungeon. I heard that it's a woman. She's so powerful. Some boys immediately changed the topic and began to whisper in an excited tone. At this point, everyone suddenly remembered that Yun Jian must have forced Instructor Yu to take her to save Officer Gu that day. After all, Officer Gu was Yun Jian's father. Therefore, after a while, their gazes immediately shifted to Yun Jian. Yun Jian, you should have also gone to the territory of the European and American underground black market boss, Glen, right? You should know about the dungeon of Glen's headquarters. As long as someone is caught, there is a rumor that they never come out again. Hey, then do you know who the first legendary woman to bring people out of the dungeon is? Someone suddenly realized that Yun Jian might know this, so he opened his mouth and asked Yun Jian. Hey, you're still asking her? It's just that last time she provoked the instructor and had to go along to cause trouble. People like her are doing it on purpose. Causing trouble for no reason. You're still asking her, can she know about this? Immediately there were voices of protest. However, everyone around still turned their expectant gazes to Yun Jian. At that time, everyone was very interested in this matter. The dungeon had been built for decades. In these decades, there were many powerful people who went in, but no one had ever been able to successfully escape. There were even rumors that in a place like the dungeon, no one in this world had the ability to escape from there. But now, the person who brought people out of the dungeon had appeared. The students in the class were all very gossipy and wanted to know, so they all turned their heads to look at Yun Jian. Chapter 1494. She was the one who led people out of the dungeon? The eyes of the students in the class suddenly turned to Yun Jian. For a moment, everyone present turned to look at her. Huh? You were the one who led people out of the dungeon? Are you for real? You're not scaring me, are you? A student in the class immediately shouted, vividly displaying the astonishment after the initial shock. Yun Jian's red arc hooked and she didn't say anything else. Just when the students thought that Yun Jian wouldn't speak again, they heard her voice ring out again. There are 2 password locks in the dungeon, both of which are made with the most cutting-edge high-tech products. If it wasn't me, who else could have cracked these 2 password locks? Yun Jian's words were quite arrogant. The surrounding students were stunned once again. After recovering from the shock, the surrounding students were once again in an uproar. Some of the students even turned to look at Yun Jian and said doubtfully, "Are you for real? Why do you say it as if it's true? Have you really been in the dungeon? Hey, tell us about the structure of the dungeon." Such words came in an endless stream. But Yun Jian didn't open her mouth to explain. She's showing off again. Yun Jian has really shown off too much. She's really shameless. Does she really think that she has 3 heads and 6 arms? Lin Shuya, who had always been at odds with Yun Jian, began to point and scold her again. But just as she finished speaking, Yun Jian's voice rang out again. "I just want to tell you that studying in a military academy means that you are very likely to become one of the following 2 types of people in the future. First, a soldier. Second, a special forces soldier. No matter which type of person you become, if there is a need for you to become a spy in the future, you must remember one thing. You must be all round." At this point, Yun Jian paused and then continued, "Unlocking secrets, blending in with the crowd, firearms and weapons, medical treatment, assassination secrets. You must learn everything and be skilled at it. If you can't do it, then I advise you not to act as a spy easily in the future, because the death rate of you being captured alive is as high as 98%. Yun Jian's meaning was very simple. She simply hoped that this group of people would learn to be smarter in the future. Gu Junjian and the others didn't realize this, so they acted rashly and sneaked into Glen's headquarters as a spy. In the end, they were caught. If she hadn't been there this time, or if she hadn't gone to save people in time, Gu Junjian and the rest of the people who were captured would definitely die. Moreover, he definitely wouldn't be able to hold on for more than 3 days. Among that group, Lin Wei was the strongest, but when Yun Jian entered the dungeon, Lin Wei was already on the verge of death. It could be seen that in less than 3 days, Lin Wei would be completely defeated, and Gu Junjian and the rest would definitely die. That was why Yun Jian said those words. Yun Jian's words attracted countless voices of resistance, but there was no lack of voices from those who admired Yun Jian. A chubby boy looked at Yun Jian and then asked with interest, "Yun Jian, how do you know so clearly? Is this true? I've been fantasizing about being a spy in the future." Being a spy is so cool." You're just talking big. Yun Jian, do you really think that you've been a spy? What right do you have to use such big words to educate us? You're really shameless. Lin Shuya spoke out of turn again. Actually, Yun Jian's words were only for the people who were listening to her sincerely. To be honest, even if these classmates died in front of her, she wouldn't care. She's the most outstanding person. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have been able to escape from the dungeon. At this moment, Instructor Yu's firm voice suddenly came from outside the classroom. Instructor Yu's words meant, Yun Jian was the one who brought everyone out of the dungeon? Chapter 1495. Yu Shaoluo's words attracted everyone's attention. If Yun Jian's words were not convincing enough, then in the military academy, the instructor's words were absolutely persuasive. Therefore, as soon as Yu Shaoluo's voice fell, the students in the class were in an uproar. Even if Yun Jian was not the legendary figure who had led her men out of the dungeon, she was probably not too far off from it. As for whether this was the case, looking at Instructor Yu, he would not say it clearly. Her classmates did not think that Yun Jian's words could be trusted. However, there were still students who were quite interested in this matter. Instructor Yu, are you telling the truth? Didn't the whole school stir up last time? They said that Yun Jian provoked the instructors and wanted to implicate the students in our class. Instructor Yu was a relatively easygoing instructor. Usually, when the students asked him some more explicit questions, Instructor Yu would not scold the students. Therefore, when the students saw Instructor Yu, they would ask what they wanted to ask. At this moment, a tall and thin boy opened his mouth and asked Yu Shaoluo, "What do you mean? What do you mean by provoke the instructors?" "The students in your class. That's why your imagination is so rich, huh? Really? I don't know what to say about you guys." Hearing the students around him say that Yun Jian provoked the instructors, Yu Shaoluo almost laughed until his saliva was spat out. Yun Jian provoked the instructors? Where did this group of students hear this joke from? Yu Shaoluo forced a smile and finally stopped himself from laughing out loud. He put his hand to his mouth and coughed twice, then said, "Yun Jian has made a great contribution this time. I came to your classroom to find her now to ask her to receive the award. Yu Xiaoluo said word by word. When these words just came out, the students in the class were all in a state of shock. What? Receive the award? What award? Yun Jian didn't provoke the instructors last time, but made a great contribution? In fact, the students in the class didn't know. If they knew that Yun Jian not only made a great contribution, but also helped the Interpol team to capture the arrogant Glenn who couldn't be arrested in these years, countless agents lost their lives here. She also saved Gu Junjian and a large group of agents who were locked in the dungeon and failed to infiltrate the territory of the European and American underground black market boss, who belonged to the country. This contribution was not just one aspect, it could be considered as a comprehensive contribution. Yun Jian's contribution could not be highlighted by the award alone. Yun Jian, come with me to receive the award. Yu Xiaoluo turned as he spoke and turned his eyes to Yun Jian. Yun Jian stood up from her seat and went to Yu Xiaoluo. Under the envious gazes of the class students in the class, Yun and Yu disappeared from the class. After Yu Xiaoluo, the students in the class were once again. She's really amazing. I'm so impressed. She's a girl but she can actually do this. Even those who were full of opinions about Yun Jian couldn't help but admire her now. At the same time, Yun Jian was brought to the office by Yu Xiaoluo. The people sitting in the office were usually teachers of Chinese, mathematics, English and other major subjects. Usually the instructors and coaches had their own offices, unlike the teachers of these major subjects. At this moment, not only were there teachers of Chinese, mathematics and English major subjects standing in the office, there were also leaders in military uniforms. Yu Xiaoluo led Yun Jian into the office and pointed at a middle-aged man who looked like a leader in formal attire not far away. He's the principal of Min City Military Academy, Principal Ma. After Yu Xiaoluo introduced Principal Ma to Yun Jian, he introduced Yun Jian again. Principal Ma narrowed his eyes and smiled at Yun Jian. He walked over and extended his hand to Yun Jian. Ah! I didn't expect the younger generation of Min City Military Academy to be so outstanding. Young lady, let's shake hands. Come. Principal Ma smiled at Yun Jian as he spoke. Yun Jian nodded and returned a faint smile. Then she said indifferently, sorry, I'm not used to shaking hands with people. Who was Principal Ma? He was the principal of Min City Military Academy. When normal people saw Principal Ma, which one of them wouldn't pounce on him to befriend him? However, this time, Principal Ma personally extended his hand to Yun Jian to express his goodwill. Chapter 1496. Ahem. It's fine. You're a good girl. Principal Ma smiled awkwardly. He used his youthful face to stare at Yun Jian with admiration for Yun Jian. Principal Ma was a very humorous principal. Although he was the principal of Min City's military academy, he didn't spend much time at the academy. Not only was Principal Ma a principal, he was also a soldier. Yun Jian didn't shake Principal Ma's hand, but it didn't mean that she didn't want to be on good terms with him. Everyone had their own way of befriending people. Yun Jian wasn't used to shaking hands, especially with men. It was that simple, so she rejected him. Principal Ma was a smart person. After hearing Yun Jian's words, he didn't feel awkward. Instead, he smiled at Yun Jian and remained silent for a while before speaking. It's all thanks to you this time. If it wasn't for you... Principal Ma wanted to say more to thank Yun Jian, but Yun Jian interrupted him. I was only trying to save my dad, so you don't have to thank me. Yun Jian didn't mean anything else. She was indeed trying to save Gu Junjian. I know that. You've done a great job too. It was the first time Principal Ma spoke so kindly to a student. Even though Yun Jian's words weren't very nice, and even though Yun Jian didn't mean anything bad, Principal Ma still spoke to Yun Jian in a friendly manner. The teachers in the office felt that this scene was a little inconceivable. There were also instructors standing around, but most of them were listening to Principal Ma and Yun Jian's conversation. Alright, Yun Jian, Principal Ma asked you to come here because he has something important to tell you. Why don't we go somewhere else to talk? Yu Xiaoluo said when the atmosphere was slightly awkward. Let's talk outside. Yun Jian naturally knew that some things weren't convenient to say in front of everyone. Moreover, there were other teachers in the office. Thus she nodded and replied. Yun Jian, Principal Ma and Yu Xiaoluo walked out of the office. In a garden somewhere in the school. Yun Jian, Principal Ma and Yu Xiaoluo stood in one of the aisles in the flower bed. There weren't many people here, and students usually didn't come here to play after class. The flower bed was closer to the teacher's dormitory, so some teachers would take a shortcut to the flower bed in order to get there early. What is it? Just say it. Standing in front of Principal Ma and Yu Xiaoluo, Yun Jian looked up at them and spoke softly. Logically speaking, a student standing in front of the principal and instructor should be so afraid that he would lower his head and not dare to look at the principal and instructor. Why was it that when it came to Yun Jian, it seemed that Principal Ma and Yu Xiaoluo were the students while she was the principal? Yun Jian. You explain. Principal Ma asked Yu Xiaoluo to explain for him. Okay, it's like this. Principal Ma heard about your performance at that time and combined with your amazing performance so far, so he agreed to let you participate in the selection of Z country's special forces to go to the hunting school this year. I'm sure you already know what kind of place the hunting school is. The death rate there is so high, so we definitely won't send people there easily. Before we send our special forces candidates to the hunting school, there will be a selection. There are about 2 classes and about 100 special forces soldiers participating in the selection. If they win and become the top 3 in the end, they can represent our country and officially go to the hunting school. Originally, you have to enter the elite class before you can be observed to see if you have the qualifications to participate in the selection. However, Principal Ma saw how outstanding you are, so he decided to make an exception and let you participate in the selection this year. Chapter 1497. Yu Xiaoluo's words were simple to understand. What he meant was that Principal Ma thought that Yun Jian was quite capable. This time, she had even rescued everyone from the dungeon and had even assisted the Interpol in arresting Glenn. All these actions showed that her performance during the military training as well as various physical fitness standards was enough to qualify her to participate in the selection to go to the hunting school. Therefore, Principal Ma recommended Yun Jian to go. Originally, as a student, Yun Jian did not have the right to go to such a selection event. After all, everyone knew what kind of place the hunting school was. Of course, Yun Jian was not an ordinary person. Principal Ma also analyzed this point, so he decided to recommend Yun Jian to go to the selection. However, it did not mean that Yun Jian could go to the hunting school directly just because she was recognized by Principal Ma. Under the situation where the special forces represented Z country to go to the hunting school for training, they had to choose who to go to the hunting school. Although the hunting school was scary, it was also a place that countless special forces dreamed of going to. Therefore, Principal Ma meant that he would do his best to send Yun Jian to the selection field. As for what would happen next, it would depend on Yun Jian's own ability. The selection competition at the selection field should be extremely strict, especially during the selection period. There will be a month-long training. Within a month, more than 100 special forces will be eliminated. On the last day, only the top 3 will be left. These 3 will represent Z country to go to the hunting school. So, Yun Jian, are you going to participate? After explaining the general rules, Yu Xiaoluo turned to ask Yun Jian. Yu Xiaoluo had always remembered that Yun Jian had said that she wanted to go to the hunting school. Now that there was a chance, he helped Yun Jian save the spot. Yes, Yun Jian nodded. Needless to say, Yun Jian would definitely choose to participate in such an opportunity. The hunting school was a place that the special forces yearned for, but to Yun Jian, it was just a platform for her to train her skills and engage in actual combat. She could bring her strength back to the peak of her previous life, nothing more. Alright, 1 month later, the military academy will apply for leave for you and send you to the selection grounds. You just need to be prepared. You don't have to bring too many things, everything will be prepared for you over there. After Yu Xiaoluo got Yun Jian's affirmative answer, he told Yun Jian about his plan. Yes. Yun Jian nodded gently. Alright, you can go back now. The selection will be held in a month's time. I have already contacted old Gu about the other matters. I believe he will help you settle them, Yu Xiaoluo said. By the time Yun Jian returned to the classroom, the first class had already ended. The students in the class all stood up from their seats and some of them wandered in the corridor. The classroom was brightly lit at night, so no one noticed that Yun Jian had returned to her seat. Yun Jian, come here, come here. Lin Wan waved at Yun Jian. Yun Jian saw Lin Wan waving at her, so she walked over. Why didn't Mu Ying come to school tonight? Lin Wan frowned and asked Yun Jian. Maybe something happened at home. Yun Jian nodded. Actually, it was because Mad Dragon was about to return to Kosha mercenaries, so Mu Ying didn't come. Oh. Lin Wan nodded as she realized what was going on. Then Lin Wan moved closer to Yun Jian, winked at Yun Jian and said, Yun Jian, do you want to go to a concert with us this Saturday? It's just me and a few girls from other classes that I just met. They invited me, so I wanted to ask you and Mu Ying to go together. I'm not going. Yun Jian rejected with 2 words. Yun Jian, just go, it's just a few girls from other classes in our school, there's no one else, just come with us. Lin Wan heard that Yun Jian didn't want to go, so she reached out and shook Yun Jian's hand. I'm not interested. Yun Jian nodded. Just as she finished speaking, Yun Jian's gaze fell on the concert invitation on Lin Wan's desk. When she saw the portrait on the concert invitation, Yun Jian pointed at it lightly and asked, "Why are you here?" "Whose concert?" It's her." Lin Wan replied with a confused expression. Chapter 1498. Lin Wan was taken aback by Yun Jian's sudden change of mind. After recovering from her shock, Lin Wan turned to look at Yun Jian and asked in confusion, "Yun Jian, didn't you say you're not going just now? Why are you changing your mind now?" "I wanted to go at the spur of the moment," Yun Jian said simply. Lin Wan pressed her lips together and did not probe further. A week of school life passed by quickly and Saturday came in the blink of an eye. It was a sunny Saturday with not a single cloud in the sky. It was scorching hot when one walked out. Perhaps it was September, but the heat had yet to dissipate. Yun Jian did not return to Longmen City this week. She stayed in Min City. Lin Wan did not go home as well. She had an appointment with a few girls from other classes to watch a concert together, so they stayed in the school's dormitory. It was Saturday morning, about 7 or 8 in the morning. The sun had risen for quite some time. In the girls' dormitory, Yun Jian's roommates had already gone home. Lin Wan's dormitory was next to Yun Jian's. Lin Wan came over to sleep with Yun Jian on Friday night, saying that it was too dark and she was afraid to stay in her dormitory alone. Yun Jian was dressed casually and lazily when she woke up early in the morning because she had just come back from a morning jog. She had changed into a light outfit because she was sweating. Lin Wan was already done with her makeup. Seeing that Yun Jian had changed into a light outfit, she quickly ran up to her. "Yun Jian, we're going to a concert." "A concert? And you're going in this outfit? What if we have the chance to shake hands with our idol? You're going just like that?" As Lin Wan spoke, she ran to Yun Jian's bed and rummaged through Yun Jian's clothes. In the end, she realized that Yun Jian's clothes were either horribly plain or hopelessly plain. "Oh my God, you didn't even buy something that you can wear out to meet people?" Lin Wan asked in despair as she rummaged through Yun Jian's clothes. "This is great," Yun Jian said. Lin Wan smiled helplessly at Yun Jian and rushed back to her dormitory to find a pile of her clothes, insisting that Yun Jian change into them. In the end, Yun Jian rejected her. Lin Wan had no choice but to let her be. Min City's concert was held in the city center's stadium. There were still about 2 hours before it started. At the entrance of Min City's stadium, Lin Wan and Yun Jian were already waiting for someone. The group of girls they had arranged to meet didn't show up for a long time. On the way, Yun Jian and Lin Wan even bought a cup of milk tea. Only when their legs were about to go numb from standing did they see the group of girls from next door walk over lazily. There were a few boys beside the girls. The group of people were chatting and laughing and they were all dressed in fancy clothes. "You're here? Why are you here so early?" One of the girls knew Lin Wan. She walked over and glanced at Lin Wan before speaking to Lin Wan. Didn't you say that you wouldn't call the boys over?" "What?" Lin Wan was shocked and then she asked in reply. "Hey, you don't have to worry about them. Just play by yourself," the girl who Lin Wan knew said. "All right." Lin Wan could only nod her head. Because Yun Jian and Lin Wan didn't know the other girls, everyone got to know each other. Other than Lin Wan, the other girls were all dressed in fancy clothes and had heavy makeup on. They were only 16 or 17 years old, but they were dressed as mature as 26 or 27 years old. Especially one of the girls in the group. When she saw Yun Jian dressed so plainly, she was stunned. Then she said to Yun Jian. Chapter 1499. Among the group of girls, the one who spoke to Yun Jian was the most fashionable and well-dressed one. Her makeup was also the thickest. The reason why she was so arrogant was because she got the tickets for the concert through her connections. The girl's name was Peng Kaihui. She was very arrogant because she was quite capable and her uncle was working in the film crew. She even got more than 10 tickets for the international superstar Yao Lily's concert in Min City a few days ago. Yao Lily was an international superstar. She was a superstar with a huge influence in the world. It could be said that in 1999 her name had become a household name. Peng Kaihui had given a lot of tickets to many people. However, in front of everyone today, Peng Kaihui had a sense of superiority. Not only was she wearing the most fashionable and eye-catching clothes, but more importantly, she was holding her head high in front of everyone. It was because in Peng Kaihui's mind, she felt that if it were not for her, it would be impossible for Yun Jian and everyone else around her to come here, much less enter the concert. It was because she was the one who gave them the tickets. Therefore Peng Kaihui felt like she was the boss. Therefore when she saw Yun Jian dressed so casually, Peng Kaihui felt like Yun Jian did not give her face. This feeling made Peng Kaihui very uncomfortable. Moreover, Peng Kaihui was the kind of girl who did not give face to others. Therefore she immediately said what she said just now. Kaihui, don't be like this. We are from the same school. The girl standing next to Peng Kaihui immediately said. The girl standing next to Peng Kaihui was the one who knew Lin Wan. She was quite friendly. The girl who knew Lin Wan was called Yi Qiao. Everyone present were freshmen. When they heard Peng Kaihui talk about Yun Jian like that, not only Yi Qiao but even Lin Wan could not stand it anymore. How can you talk about my friend like that? Lin Wan still wanted to say something, but Peng Kaihui's eyes looked to the left and right. Then, her body swayed from side to side and arrogantly interrupted Lin Wan's words. "Tsk, I've already said it. What do you want? Don't forget, it's all thanks to me that you can go to the concert today. If it weren't for me, would you have gotten the tickets?" Peng Kaihui was very arrogant because of this. She had asked her uncle to get the tickets from the crew. Without the tickets, how could Yun Jian and the others enter the concert? Stop joking. How hard was it to get a concert ticket? Anyone who wanted to go to the concert would know. This is from you? At this time Yun Jian, who had been silent all this while, raised the concert ticket in her hand and glanced sideways at Peng Kaihui. Hey, if it's not mine, do you think it's yours? So, I advise you to behave. It's already embarrassing enough for you to dress like a country bumpkin. When you walk with us later, you better stay away from us. Otherwise, Peng Kaihui swayed her body proudly and said. However, before she could finish her sentence, Yun Jian threw the ticket on the ground. In the eyes of Peng Kaihui and the group of boys and girls, it was so valuable that it could not even be bought with RMB. Then I'll return this ticket to you. Without this ticket I can still go in. That woman actually used the name of a superstar to come to Min City to hold a concert. She had to go to this concert. Yun Jian threw the concert ticket in front of Peng Kaihui and turned to walk to the Min City Center Stadium behind her. Does she think she can go in without the ticket? Does she really think she's someone powerful? Peng Kaihui immediately sneered when she saw Yun Jian walking over. Chapter 1500. Yun Jian and Lin Wan's actions were like idiots in the eyes of everyone present. What was the use of being angry? Did they really think that they could enter the Min City Center Stadium to watch the concert at night after returning the concert ticket to Peng Kaihui? Hui, I think they're stupid. Didn't they see the guards at the entrance of the stadium? Look at the people who went in before them. Which one of them didn't have a ticket to go in? Don't laugh to death. Ayaya, I'm really going to laugh to death. A girl standing beside Peng Kaihui, who obviously wanted to please Peng Kaihui, pointed at the departing figures of Yun Jian and Lin Wan and laughed twice. Hui, you've really gone too far this time. We're all from the same school and will see each other frequently in the future. Yi Qiao saw that Lin Wan was chasing after Yun Jian. She looked at them with some worry and spoke to Peng Kaihui at the same time. However, just as she spoke to Peng Kaihui fiercely interrupted Yi Qiao's words. What do you mean by going too far? This is my ticket. If you want to go with them, then go by yourself. Leave the ticket for me and go with Lin Wan. Peng Kaihui had made up her mind and felt that she was powerful. She also knew that Yi Qiao wouldn't really leave. Sure enough, Yi Qiao only glanced at Lin Wan a few times with worry. Then she stood on the spot and shouted at Lin Wan a few times. Seeing that Lin Wan didn't listen, she stood on the spot and stomped her feet. In the end, because she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to enter the concert, she could only obediently stand beside Peng Kaihui. Seeing that Yi Qiao glanced at Yun Jian and Lin Wan with worry and didn't chase after them in the end, Peng Kaihui's sense of pride became even more obvious. Let's go and see them. I want to see if the two of them can enter. Peng Kaihui completely wanted to see Yun Jian and Lin Wan make a fool of themselves. As she spoke, Peng Kaihui led the group of boys and girls around her towards Yun Jian, who was already standing in front of the stadium, as if they were watching a show. Yun Jian, let's go back. She made it seem like we want her ticket. With her attitude, if she doesn't want to see it, it's no big deal. Let's go back to the dormitory or go shopping. Oh, by the way, we can also see what she's doing at home since she hasn't come to school for so many days. Lin Wan thought that Yun Jian had come to the gymnasium out of anger. After all, without a ticket, it was harder to sneak into the concert of an international superstar. Muing is very busy. Don't disturb her. I have to go. Yun Jian simply said what she wanted to say. Muing had been very busy recently. Because Mad Dragon was going back to Kosha Mercenaries, she had been staying with Mad Dragon. As for the concert this time, she had to go. Ah, you have to go. I'm dying of laughter. Do you think you can get in without a ticket? At this moment, Peng Tsaihui's voice came from behind. Those slightly mocking words, no matter who heard it, would feel uncomfortable. Peng Kaihui, is it okay for you to bully the little beauty like this? At this moment, a boy in the same class as Peng Kaihui laughed twice. He even looked at Yun Jian with a different gaze. Just when Peng Kaihui and the others thought that Yun Jian would definitely not be able to enter the stadium, they saw Yun Jian standing at the entrance of the stadium and then saying something to the guard in front of everyone. The next second, the guard nodded at Yun Jian and agreed to let Yun Jian enter the stadium. Finally, Yun Jian waved at Lin Wan in front of everyone's eyes. The two of them entered the stadium in a flash. Chapter 1501. Peng Kaihui and the others were dumbfounded when they saw Yun Jian walking into the stadium without a ticket and even bringing Lin Wan in with her. Especially Peng Kaihui and the girl who mocked Yun Jian with Peng Kaihui just now. The two of them stood rooted to the ground in a daze as if they had seen something incredible. How did they get in? I thought they didn't have a ticket? The boy who called Yun Jian a little beauty pointed at Yun Jian and Lin Wan's backs and asked Peng Kaihui. Peng Kaihui naturally couldn't answer him. How would she know what Yun Jian said to the guard and how Yun Jian and Lin Wan walked into the stadium? How would I know? If you can get in without a ticket, then give it back to me. I'm so pissed. When Peng Kaihui got angry, she snorted at the crowd and threatened them with the ticket. The group of people who came with Peng Kaihui were all boys and girls from the military academy. They were all people with integrity. However, the concert of the international superstar Yao Lily was happening in the next few days. They really wanted to see the international superstar's style. Therefore, the people present naturally accepted Peng Tsaihui's threat first. She's going in. Let's go in too. Peng Kaihui glared fiercely at Yun Jian and Lin Wan, who had already walked into the stadium. After she said that angrily, she led the crowd into the stadium with the tickets. On the other side, Yun Jian and Lin Wan had already walked into the stadium. The concert was held in the stadium and there were still 2 hours to go. 2 hours later, the superstar Yao Lily had not arrived yet. Normally, the audience would enter the stadium 2 hours earlier. Because the stadium was too big and there were too many people, the audience had to enter at least 2 hours earlier. The superstar would only appear on the stage after all the audience was seated. As soon as Yun Jian and Lin Wan entered the stadium, Lin Wan asked Yun Jian in surprise, "Yun Jian, didn't we not have tickets? Why did the guards let us in?" As soon as Lin Wan finished her question, Yun Jian answered her, "I said we are logistics personnel." Logistics? Lin Wan pointed at herself and asked in surprise. Yun Jian only nodded her head slightly. Just as he finished answering Lin Wan, Peng Tsaihui's voice came from behind, "Hey! Wait a minute. Stop right there." Yun Jian and Lin Wan did not stop and continued walking forward. Didn't you hear what I said? I told you to stop." Seeing that Yun Jian and Lin Wan were ignoring her, Peng Kaihui was angry. She gritted her teeth and yelled, then ran up with a group of people and blocked Yun Jian's path. "How did you get in?" Peng Kaihui glanced at Yun Jian and asked in a tone that made it seem like Yun Jian had to report to her. Yun Jian ignored her and walked towards the backstage of the concert not far away. "Why are you ignoring me? How rude. What are you doing there?" Peng Kaihui shouted when she saw that Yun Jian was ignoring her. "Hey little beauty, that's the backstage of the concert. If you go that way the staff will kick you out," a boy said kindly. "Yeah, Wan, call your friend. Don't let her go in again. That's the backstage of the concert," Yi Qiao said to Yun Jian. Just as she finished speaking, Yun Jian's voice came through. Yun Jian's words shocked everyone present. Chapter 1502. Yao Lily? She's going to look for that damned Yao Lily? Yun Jian's words shocked everyone present. You know superstar Yao Lily? The guy who called Yun Jian little beauty looked at Yun Jian in shock. Yao Lily was an international superstar and this was the first time Yao Lily came to Country Z for a concert. Therefore the scene was quite sensational. Some fans even came all the way from provinces to Min City just to catch a glimpse of Yao Lily. As soon as the guy spoke, everyone turned their attention to Yun Jian. After all, to everyone it was an honor to be able to catch a glimpse of an international superstar like Yao Lily at a concert. As for Yun Jian, she actually said that she was going to look for that damned Yao Lily? Did she know Yao Lily? You were lucky to be able to sneak in without a ticket at the entrance. Now you're taking advantage of her? Superstar Yao Lily is a foreigner and this is her first time in Country Z. She's even holding such a large-scale concert. How could she possibly know a country bumpkin like you? If Yao Lily knows you, then I can even say that she's my relative. Hey, she really thinks she's human. Peng Kaihui was the kind of woman who was very jealous. As long as she targeted someone, she would do her best to target them. No matter what that person did, whether it was good or bad, she hated them. When that damned woman came to Country Z for the first time, you were still in your mother's womb. Yun Jian ignored Peng Kaihui's words. She glanced at Peng Kaihui from the corner of her eye and walked towards the backstage after saying that. Yun Jian, can we really go backstage? Lin Wan asked expectantly and cautiously. Usually there would be staff guarding the backstage. Those who weren't staff wouldn't be allowed to enter. Of course, not. Yun Jian smiled slightly. Just when Lin Wan thought that she would definitely be able to enter, she suddenly said. As expected, the backstage of the concert was strictly guarded, so Yun Jian and Lin Wan couldn't get in. Of course, Yun Jian did not force her to go backstage. If Yun Jian insisted on going backstage, she would probably rush in even if the sky fell. They did not enter the backstage because Yao Lily was not there yet. Yun Jian was not stupid. She naturally knew that celebrities were usually the last to appear. It wouldn't be too late to sneak backstage to look for him after Yao Lily finished his concert. At this moment, Yun Jian and Lin Wan casually found a bench and sat down. It was true that tickets were required to enter the stadium, but once you entered the stadium you could sit anywhere you wanted. Those who came late could only stand. In other words, it was on a first-come first-served basis. Yun Jian and Lin Wan casually found a seat and sat down. Peng Kaihui also ran over with a group of people. Then Peng Kaihui and the others sat next to Yun Jian. The reason why Peng Kaihui sat next to Yun Jian was to mock Yun Jian. She was really angry about what happened just now, so she chased after Yun Jian and wanted to mock her. Seeing that Yun Jian was sitting there and there was no one around, Peng Kaihui sat in the row in front of Yun Jian's seat. She turned to look at Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian in front of the surrounding people, I told you you can't enter the backstage of the concert at all. Also you said that you know Yao Lily. If you know Yao Lily, you won't be able to enter the backstage of the concert at all. Peng Kaihui chased after Yun Jian because she wanted to make her admit that she didn't know Yao Lily or admit defeat to her. After all, in front of so many classmates, especially when there were male classmates around, if Yun Jian admitted defeat to her, it would make Peng Kaihui feel that she was more powerful and full of self-esteem. She would even be able to hold her head high in front of the boys. Peng Kaihui felt that Yun Jian should have admitted her mistake by now. But what she didn't expect was that Yun Jian only left her with one sentence. Leave my sight, and you can live to 100 years old. What if she didn't? Hearing Yun Jian's words, the surrounding boys and girls were all stunned. Chapter 1503. Especially those young boys and girls who had never heard Yun Jian say such harsh words. Now that they heard Yun Jian say something like that, they were all dumbfounded. Although they were all military school students, Peng Kaihui, Yi Qiao, and Peng Kaihui's group did not know that Yun Jian was the famous killing god of Team Monarch, the terrifying female student who won first place during the military training period. If they knew, their attitude would definitely change. Similarly, after hearing Yun Jian's words, Peng Kaihui was also stunned. When she came to her senses, Peng Kaihui stared at Yun Jian with a hateful gaze. You mean to say that you're cursing me? Peng Kaihui pointed at Yun Jian in disbelief. She looked at Yun Jian with extreme disgust and said fiercely. However, before she could finish her sentence, Lin Wan interrupted her. She told you not to hang around in front of us. You didn't give us the tickets to enter here, so please move to the side. There are many seats there, you can all sit there, but please stay away from us. At this moment, Lin Wan was also filled with disgust towards Peng Kaihui and her group. However, just as Lin Wan finished her sentence, Yi Qiao stood up again and said to Lin Wan in an extremely righteous tone, Lin Wan, don't be like this. We're all classmates, Before Yi Qiao could finish, Lin Wan interrupted her. Sorry, I don't have such a classmate. Yi Qiao was the kind of person who would change sides and waver. However, Lin Wan was different. Lin Wan was the kind of person who would only help her friends. Just like earlier, even if they could not enter the stadium to watch the concert, once Yun Jian left, Lin Wan also returned the tickets in her hand to Peng Kaihui and followed Yun Jian. Lin Wan originally thought that she wouldn't be able to see the concert today, but she didn't expect that Yun Jian could fool the guard and let them both in. Lin Wan and Yi Qiao knew each other first. Lin Wan asked Yun Jian to come here today purely because of Yi Qiao. Yi Qiao and Peng Kaihui knew each other, so Peng Kaihui gave Yi Qiao a few tickets. Then Yi Qiao gave 2 tickets to Lin Wan. Originally, Lin Wan was quite considerate of Lin Wan. However, no one stood up for Peng Kai-hui when Peng Kai-hui was so mean to Yun Jian, so Lin Wan completely ignored it. Lin Wan was the kind of person who would risk her life for her friends. Lin Wan's words completely broke up with Yi Qiao because of Yun Jian. In fact, this matter was Peng Caihui's fault. However, Yi Qiao was afraid that she couldn't enter the stadium, so she just watched Yun Jian and Lin Wan walk over. Lin Wan and Yi Qiao didn't get too close to each other. Since we're not welcome, then let's go. Peng Kai-hui couldn't stand it. She slapped the stool and immediately stood up and walked to the other side. A few other people who wanted to be on good terms with Peng Kai-hui also followed. Yi Qiao looked at Lin Wan and Yun Jian a few times and finally followed. Lin Wan opened her mouth, but nothing came out in the end. More and more people came to the stadium, and in the end, it became a sea of people. There was no place to sit, and in the end there wasn't even a place to stand. Finally, after the main lights of the stadium went off, the fluorescent light on the big stage lit up. Under the host's guidance, the international superstar Yao Lily appeared on the stage. On the big stage, Yao Lily's body was enchanting. She was wearing a miniskirt, revealing a pair of long legs that could make men have nosebleeds just by looking at them. The atmosphere of the stadium instantly reached the climax. Seeing Yao Lily on the big stage, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and smiled slightly. As expected, she was still as good at seducing people as before. Yun Jian didn't pay attention to Yao Lily's dance and song. As soon as the 2-hour concert ended, the crowd began to walk out of the stadium. Yun Jian took advantage of the chaos to sneak into the backstage of the concert with Lin Wan. Just as Yun Jian took Lin Wan to the backstage of the concert, Peng Kai-hui and the others also unconsciously walked through the same tunnel that led to the backstage of the concert with Yun Jian. Yun Jian, where are we going? Lin Wan asked. We're going to find her. Yun Jian didn't say much. She led the way and walked all the way backstage of the concert. Halfway through, they bumped into Peng Kai-hui and the others who were walking towards them. What are you two doing here? Peng Kai-hui screamed. Yun Jian ignored Peng Kai-hui and walked towards Yao Lily's lounge with Lin Wan. In front of Yao Lily's lounge backstage, more than a dozen burly bodyguards were standing guard. There were already a lot of fans who fought their way out of the crowd standing at the entrance of the lounge. Because of the dozen burly bodyguards, the fans couldn't enter the lounge. If I can see Yao Lily up close when she comes out later, I'll have no regrets in my life. Me too. I'm so excited. I wonder if I can see her later. If I can shake hands with her, I don't want to wash my hands this year. A few fans were standing at the entrance and waiting exaggeratedly. Just as they said this, a figure suddenly flashed in front of them. Peng Kai-hui and the others had just arrived when they saw the dozen or so bodyguards. They were disappointed. Just as they thought of this, Yun Jian didn't say anything. She walked up to the dozen or so bodyguards in front of everyone and knocked them to the ground. Then she walked to Yao Lily's lounge and kicked the door open. Yun Jian. She's so fierce? How could this little girl be so fierce? She actually managed to take down more than a dozen strong bodyguards in one go? Everyone present was dumbfounded. Chapter 1504. By then Yun Jian had already kicked open the door to the lounge and barged in. The few people standing a distance away were already pale with fright. Putting aside Yun Jian's act of barging in, just look at the dozen bodyguards she had taken down. They were bodyguards. Bodyguards protecting celebrities. These two bodyguards must have been trained in martial arts. Especially bodyguards protecting celebrities, they must be the best bodyguards sent by a bodyguard company. But what about Yun Jian? She actually single-handedly took down more than a dozen bodyguards on the ground? Could she be the famous slashing god from Team Monarch in our school? One of the boys suddenly saw Yun Jian taking down a dozen bodyguards and recalled a certain legendary figure in their school that had gone viral. His eyes widened as he asked in bewilderment. Yun Jian had already walked into the lounge and there were more than a dozen bodyguards lying in front of the lounge. Lin Wan was also standing with Peng Kai-hui and the rest who were still in shock. The boy exclaimed in horror, attracting the attention of Peng Kai-hui, Yi Qiao, and the rest of the boys and girls. What? You said she's that person from Team Monarch? Team Monarch's slashing god? You mean, the killing god who won first place in the wilderness survival activity during our first year of high school? As soon as the boy spoke, another boy immediately chimed in. His tone was filled with shock and fear as if he had heard something terrible. Among the freshmen, Team Monarch's slashing god was especially famous. Perhaps not many people would recognize the name Yun Jian, but when it came to slashing god, there were not many in Min City Military School who did not recognize her. Especially the boys from Min City Military School, after hearing about Team Monarch's slashing God battle record, they instantly became her admirers. Previously they only heard Lin Wan calling Yun Jian by her real name, but no one knew that Yun Jian was slashing God. Peng Kaihui, Yi Qiao and the others were stunned. Then they turned to look at Lin Wan. Yi Qiao said, "Lin Wan, your friend, could he really be the killing god? Team Monarch's Grim Reaper? She is. Shouldn't you all know that?" Lin Wan replied in confusion as soon as Yi Qiao's question was heard. This echo frightened Yi Qiao, Peng Kaihui, and the others to the point that their expressions changed slightly. Yun Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god. If she had known this from the beginning, Peng Kaihui would not have spoken to Yun Jian in that tone. But now, even if she knew that Yun Jian was the killing god, the hatred had already been formed. Peng Kaihui would definitely not lower her head because of this. Ayaya. Just then Yao Lily's shriek came from the lounge. The group of bodyguards rushed into the lounge. Seeing this, Peng Kaihui and the others rushed in as well. The fans who weren't stopped by the bodyguards also followed in. Before running into the lounge, Peng Kaihui complained. "I knew she wouldn't know Yao Lily. He's a superstar. Does she think that just because she's Team Monarch slashing God, she's on the same level as the superstar Yao Lily? Just her." Peng Kaihui wanted to say something, but the group had already entered the lounge. Her words came to an abrupt halt when she saw the next scene. In the lounge, Yao Lily wanted to give Yun Jian a big hug but was stopped by Yun Jian's hand. "Sis, why are you here? I didn't expect you to come to this godforsaken place." Yao Lily was stopped by Yun Jian and could not get close to Yun Jian, but she was not angry. Looking at the situation, Yao Lily was probably trying to get close to Yun Jian and curry favor with Yun Jian. Yao Lily knew Yun Jian? Everyone who walked in from the lounge was dumbfounded. Whether it was the bodyguards or the fans, especially Peng Kaihui and the others, their eyes were wide open as if they had seen a ghost. The international superstar Yao Lily knew Yun Jian? Moreover, it seemed like Yao Lily wanted to get close to Yun Jian and Yun Jian was the one who rejected him. Chapter 1505. Everyone present could understand Yi Qiao's shock. Compared to Yi Qiao, Peng Kaihui was so scared that her face turned pale and she couldn't even utter a word. The international superstar Yao Lily actually knew Yun Jian? Those who knew had the same reaction as Peng Kaihui, Yao Lily and the others. Those who didn't know had the same reaction as the bodyguards and the fans. They were all in a state of shock and confusion. The international superstar Yao Lily was sexy and cold in front of others. Why did he look like he was about to pounce on Yun Jian when he was in front of Yun Jian? Peng Kaihui, Yi Qiao and the others had the same reaction as everyone present. Yun Jian didn't look at the reactions of the people around her, nor did she have the intention to pay attention to them. She glanced at Yao Lily and then withdrew her hand. She walked lazily to the seat in front of Yao Lily's dressing table and sat down on the bench. She immediately crossed her legs and looked up at Yao Lily with narrowed eyes. "Your seat is pretty cool. Are you in this line of work now?" Yun Jian raised her hand and fiddled with the makeup on Yao Lily's dressing table as she said with a smile. This line of work was naturally referring to being a singer or an actress. Yao Lily smiled. He and Yun Jian didn't avoid the topic in front of everyone. Instead, they continued to talk about things that the people present couldn't understand. "Isn't that so? I don't have your ability to survive in that kind of place where people are eaten alive without spitting out their bones. If it wasn't for you back then, I reckon that I would have entered your line of work. Now, I'm afraid that not even a pile of bones is left." Yao Lily showed a scornful smile as he spoke. Yao Lily and Yun Jian's every word and action made the people present puzzled. An international superstar was actually talking to Yun Jian. What's more, they were talking about things that no one could understand. The people around them were completely stunned. Even the fans who saw their idol Yao Lily froze in confusion. For a moment, no one thought of rushing to Yao Lily to ask for an autograph and a handshake. Everyone was stunned by the conversation between Yun Jian and Yao Lily. Yao Lily turned around and looked at Yun Jian. She asked the question that had been bothering her for many years. "Oh right, why did you save me in the first place?" Why did Yao Lily call Yun Jian SS? Peng Kaihui and the others were confused. But then they suddenly recalled, wasn't Yun Jian the killing god? Why did Lily know about SS? Why did she say that Yun saved her? Did Yun Jian save the superstar Yao Lily? Everyone present was dying to know the reason. Thus, they all stared at Yun Jian and Yao Lily without saying a word. Yun Jian's smile became even more obvious after hearing Yao Lily's words. She pursed her lips and smiled faintly. Then she said, "Because you're not suitable to live in that kind of place." That was the only explanation. She had once saved Yao Lily's life because of this reason. An Hun organization would recruit a new batch of children every year and let them fight. After a few years, the weak would be eliminated and the strong would remain. At that time, Yun Jian was already an internationally famous agent, Wang Shaxing. When Yao Lily was abducted into an Hun organization, she was already very old. She was about 18 or 19 years old. At that time, Yao Lily had been in an Hun organization for about 2 to 3 months. When Yun Jian saw Yao Lily, she felt as if she had found Mu Ying. Yun Jian's intuition told her that Yao Lily was not suitable to live in such a place. Because of this reason, Yun Jian directly sent Yao Lily away. Therefore, Yao Lily only stayed in an assassin organization for 2 to 3 months. Although it was only 2 to 3 months, staying in an Hun organization for 2 to 3 months was enough to change a person. Yao Lily still remembered that before Yun Jian sent her home, she said the same thing. Yun Jian said, "Go home. You're not suitable to live in such a place." Yun Jian was clearly younger than her, but she said such profound words. Yao Lily's feelings were extremely complicated at that time. "You're still the same as before. Mysterious, strong and dazzling. You're someone I can never reach. I will never know your background. I only know that you're the legend." Yao Lily commented on Yun Jian in front of everyone. The superstar Yao Lily was usually very sharp-tongued. This was the first time she had commented on someone in such a way in public. Chapter 1506. Yao Lily was startled when Yun Jian walked into the lounge. After all, she was a superstar now. Where were the bodyguards outside when someone suddenly barged into the lounge? Where were the bodyguards? However, Yao Lily did not expect that Yun Jian would reveal her identity to Peng Kai-hui and the bodyguards outside the lounge before they could react. That was why the bodyguards, Peng Kai-hui, Yi Qiao, and the others who were standing outside the lounge heard Yao Lily scream. In fact, Yao Lily screamed because she saw Yun Jian again. Yao Lily knew that someone like Yun Jian could change her face at any time. In other words, Yun Jian was the kind of person who would change her face every time she appeared on stage. Yun Jian only raised her eyebrows slightly when she heard Yao Lily's evaluation of her. Peng Kai-hui, Yi Qiao, and the others around her could no longer describe their feelings with the word shock. "Sis, do you want to have supper with me tonight?" Yao Lily looked at Yun Jian and invited her while everyone was still in shock. A superstar invited her for supper? The people around her almost died of envy. "Sure." Yun Jian sat in front of the dressing table and nodded slightly. "Let's go. I'm just about to remove my makeup and have supper with my colleagues. Bring your friends along and let's go together." Yao Lily waved at Lin Wan, Peng Kai-hui and the others. She thought that Peng Kai-hui and the others were also Yun Jian's friends, so she smiled at them. "Lin Wan, let's go." However, Yun Jian only invited Lin Wan. "Hey, we also came here together." Lin Wan, Yun Jian. Peng Kai-hui rolled her eyes. How could she let go of such a good opportunity to dine with a superstar? Therefore, when Peng Kai-hui saw that Yun Jian and Lin Wan were about to leave, she wanted to curry favor with Yun Jian, hoping that Yun Jian would let bygones be bygones and bring her along. "I came with my friends. The two of us." Yun Jian's voice interrupted Peng Tsaihui's words. Peng Tsaihui's face instantly darkened to the extreme. However, Yun Jian knew the superstar. Even if Peng Kai-hui had lost her mind, she would never choose to argue with Yun Jian at this moment. Therefore, Peng Kai-hui watched as Yao Lily removed her makeup and left with Yun Jian and Lin Wan under the protection of a dozen bodyguards. After Yun Jian and Lin Wan left with Yao Lily, Peng Kai-hui stood there with a sullen face. How could she do that? We're all classmates. Yi Qiao spoke up in a righteous tone. However, Yi Qiao said that because she really wanted to go with them. Does she think that she knows a superstar? Peng Kai-hui stood there sullenly and shouted angrily. Yun Jian and Lin Wan followed Yao Lily and got into a super luxurious car after breaking through the crowd of fans. The moment they got into the luxurious car, even Yao Lily let out a long sigh of relief. Then Yao Lily turned to look at Yun Jian and said, "Phew, I didn't scare you guys, did I? Actually, their fans are quite protective of me. However, this lineup can always scare me. Every time I come out, they will surround me as if they don't care about their lives. All right, the two of you should follow me closely later. Tonight is our company's party and there will be other superstars. If they say anything bad to you guys, just ignore them." Yao Lily's words made Lin Wan extremely excited. It was already surprising enough to be able to see the superstar Yao Lily at such a close distance. Could they even see other superstars now? And this was all thanks to Yun Jian knowing Yao Lily. Really? Can we really see other superstars later? Lin Wan made an expectant gesture and looked at Yao Lily expectantly. Chapter 1507. It's true, but don't get your hopes up too high. Maybe they'll be different from the celebrities in your impression. Yao Lily flashed her pearly white front teeth at Lin Wan with a smile. This smile made Lin Wan's excited face moisten. Not only was the superstar Yao Lily sitting in front of her, she was even talking to her. She had seen her. She had spoken. Lin Wan was the kind of person who chased after celebrities crazily. Although she did not like Yao Lily the most among the celebrities, Lin Wan was still in disbelief when she spoke to Yao Lily. Aren't you afraid that I'll offend everyone in your company if I attend your company's gathering with you? Yun Jian asked as she sat lazily in the luxurious sedan seat, tilting her head slightly to look at Yao Lily. Yun Jian was the kind of person who would seek revenge and repay kindness. She would return double the favor to those who treated her well, but she would turn on those who treated her badly without regard for anyone's feelings. Yao Lily was well aware of this. After listening to Yun Jian, Yao Lily grinned and said, "I'm not afraid." Yun Jian exchanged a smile with Yao Lily. At the entrance of Chaotian Hotel. A luxurious sedan parked in front of Chaotian Hotel's main entrance. Chaotian Hotel was a newly opened 5-star global hotel chain in Longmen City. It was opened recently. As Chaotian Hotel was a global chain, a world-renowned 5-star hotel, its interior was lavishly decorated and its location was the most luxurious city center in the city. The cheapest meal in Chaotian Hotel would cost up to 1,000 yuan, while the most expensive meal would cost up to 10,000 yuan. This standard of consumption was very expensive in the eyes of ordinary people in Country Z in 1999. In other words, those who could dine or stay in Chaotian Hotel were either leaders, tycoons, or famous people from all over the country. The opening of Chaotian Hotel was purely to serve the important people. It's here. We can get off now. Yao Lily got out of the car first. Then she held the door for Yun Jian and helped Yun Jian out of the car. When the driver saw this, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Who was Yao Lily? She was an international superstar. In the past, Yao Lily was extremely arrogant. He had to be supported when he got out of the car, waited on when he entered the hotel, and rinsed his mouth when he ate. Many people even accused her of putting on airs. But what did he see today? The international superstar Yao Lily opened the door for a 16-year-old girl? Was this a joke? Is this true? Lin Wan got out of the car with Yun Jian. Just as the three of them got out of the car and made their way to Chaotian Hotel's luxurious entrance, they had only taken 2 steps when a woman in her 20s came over with a guffaw. The woman was dressed in bright red. She had a great figure and was quite good-looking. The woman had seen how Yao Lily opened the door for Yun Jian just now. Once she came over, she sized Yao Lily up in front of everyone and sneered, "You're so arrogant. Yao Lily, what's wrong with you today? Why did you open the door for a girl dressed like a country bumpkin? Did your head get caught in the door? Have you become a little indecent?" As soon as the woman sneered, Lin Wan turned her head and saw the woman's face clearly. The moment she saw the woman's face, Lin Wan almost screamed. Lu Yan. Was Lu Yan. Lu Yan was a superstar in Z country. She had just won an international award for Best Actress and was very popular now. Basically, everyone in the entertainment industry knew her. Hearing that she was a country bumpkin again, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. Chapter 1508. Lin Wan was excited when she saw Lu Yan. But when she recalled what Lu Yan said, Lin Wan was a little disappointed. Lin Wan was Lu Yan's fan, a die-hard fan. Lin Wan came from a good family. Her house could afford a color TV. When she saw Lu Yan in the movie, Lin Wan was attracted by Lu Yan's pure appearance. Later on, after Lu Yan became popular, she changed her innocent appearance. Later on, when she appeared on TV, she would wear heavy makeup and sexy clothes just like now. In fact, Lin Wan didn't like Lu Yan's clothes, but Lin Wan still liked Lu Yan as usual. Just now, when Lu Yan appeared, Lin Wan was so excited that she almost screamed. But when she recalled what Lu Yan said, Lin Wan almost couldn't believe that the Lu Yan standing in front of her was the female star she had always liked. Yun Jian was dressed plainly today. But when she came to such an occasion like Chaotian Hotel, she really looked ordinary. Let's go. Ignore her. Yao Lily didn't plan to pay attention to Lu Yan at all. She waved to Yun Jian and Lin Wan, then turned and walked into Chaotian Hotel. In the entertainment industry, celebrities used their most attractive side to expose to the audience, but in reality, no one could see their true side. The second floor of Chaotian Hotel had been booked by Yao Lily's company. In addition to many big stars, screenwriters, directors and other big shots, there were also the company's executives, including some not-so-famous stars and staff members on the second floor. But most of the people who showed up were well-dressed. Yun Jian, who was only wearing casual clothes, could be recognized at a glance. In fact, the reason why Yao Lily's company called so many screenwriters, producers, investors and directors was that they wanted to choose good seedlings from the company to cultivate. Today's party was a party in a nice way, but in a bad way it was a hongmen banquet. Female celebrities who wanted to be famous naturally had to pay a price in exchange for screen time and opportunities. Unspoken rules. This was something that anyone with a discerning eye would know. Of course, Yao Lily brought Yun Jian and Lin Wan here today with no intention of letting Yun Jian and Lin Wan step into the entertainment industry. At most, she wanted to use this opportunity to have a meal with Yun Jian. However, as soon as Yao Lily, Yun Jian and Lin Wan sat down, a fat man with a beer belly sat at the same table as Yun Jian and the others. The beer-bellied man squinted his eyes at Yun Jian and said directly, "Don't worry. Little girl, you're quite pretty, aren't you? Why are you dressed like this?" "Haha, I'm Zheng Weiqing, the director of Duoji Company." "Little girl, you're quite pretty. Are you interested in developing in the entertainment industry?" As soon as the man who called himself Zheng Weiqing finished speaking, a sharp female voice beside him interrupted, "Director Zheng, this little girl's taste in clothes isn't very good. I'm afraid she won't be popular no matter what." With that said, Yun Jian saw a figure flash in front of her. In the next second, the sharp female voice, which was Lu Yen who had just met at the entrance, sat down on Zheng Weiqing's lap. She wrapped her arms around Director Zheng's chest and spoke seductively. This scene almost made Lin Wan vomit in disgust. She didn't expect the female celebrity she had always liked, Lu Yen, to have such a person behind her. "As long as you're pretty, I'll make you popular." Director Zheng naturally touched Lu Yan's butt. Then he looked up at Yun Jian and spoke in a tone that he thought a little girl like Yun Jian would definitely yearn to become a celebrity. He said to Yun Jian, "How about it, little girl? As long as you give something up, there's a wide road waiting for you to walk on. The entertainment industry. This is something that many people can't even dream of." "Oh? The entertainment industry?" Yun Jian nearly chuckled out loud, but she managed to keep a smirk on her face as she uttered the words with a smirk. "Yes," Director Zheng said as he pushed Lu Yen away. Then, he looked at Yun Jian as if a fish had taken the bait. "You want me to enter the entertainment industry? Aren't you afraid that I'll destroy your entertainment company?" Yun Jian's red lips curled. She tapped the table with her fingernails and spoke indifferently. "You? Just you? You'll even destroy Director Zheng's entertainment company." "Ah, are you kidding? Director Zheng's entertainment company is famous in our country?" Lu Yen laughed out loud on the spot. However, just as Lu Yen started laughing, a middle-aged man who was slightly thinner than Director Zheng ran over. He looked at Yun Jian with a fearful gaze and spoke to Director Zheng and Lu Yen. "You guys are crazy. How dare you provoke this little girl? Do you know about Baiguang Model Agency from a while ago? Baiguang Model Agency has closed down because they provoked this little girl. Baiguang's boss is still begging on the streets. How stupid are you to provoke her? You guys." Just as the middle-aged man spoke up to this point, Director Zheng and Lu Yan's smiles completely froze. "What? Baiguang Model Agency closed down because they provoked Yun Jian? They provoked this ordinary-looking girl?" Chapter 1509. Lu Yen and Director Zheng's faces stiffened. In the beginning, Lu Yen and Director Zheng thought that Yun Jian was the kind of girl who came from the countryside and looked like a country bumpkin at first glance. Most of these girls came from poor families. Because they didn't have money or because they wanted to live a richer life, in order to not be ridiculed in school, there were a lot of them who came out to sell themselves. Today, when Director Zheng saw Yun Jian, his eyes were wide open. When Lu Yen came over and plopped herself on Director Zheng's lap just now, the latter had been stroking her butt and thinking about how alluring she looked in her casual outfit. There was nothing to criticize about Yun Jian's looks. Her innocent face paled in comparison to Country Z's movie queen Lu Yen, who had just won an international award recently. With such looks, if she were to work in the entertainment industry as long as she paid the price, she would definitely be popular. That was why Lu Yen mocked Yun Jian in every possible way. The reason was that she was afraid that Yun Jian would really enter the industry and agree to Director Zheng's request to compete with her for resources. Never in Director Zheng and Lu Yan's wildest dreams would they have imagined that Yun Jian was the one who had caused the famous entertainment agency, Baiguang Model Agency, to go bankrupt. Baiguang Model Agency was a big company that was famous all over the world. Back then, Baiguang Model Agency's prospects were very good. It had already entered the global rankings and was comparable to Yao Lily's entertainment company. However, such a big entertainment company closed down just like that. Director Zheng and Lu Yan couldn't believe it when they heard that Baiguang Model Agency had closed down. Later they saw the boss of Baiguang Model Agency begging on the streets with their own eyes. Director Zheng and Lu Yan were shocked. At that time they didn't think too much about it. They didn't even know the specific reason why Baiguang Model Agency closed down. They heard that Baiguang had offended someone, that was all. If it wasn't for the middle-aged man who came over midway, Director Zheng and Lu Yan wouldn't even know that Baiguang Model Agency was closed down because they had offended Yun Jian. She? Baiguang was closed down because they offended her? That's why Baiguang closed down now? The middle-aged man was an excellent lighting technician at the former Baiguang Model Agency, so his words were very credible. But even so, Director Zheng and Lu Yan were scared silly. How could this be? Yun Jian was dressed so plainly. How could she have the ability to destroy Baiguang Model Agency, which was as big as Yao Lily's company? Why not? I saw it with my own eyes when Baiguang went bankrupt. She. Her friend was caught and brought to Baiguang. In order to protect her innocence, she slit her wrist and committed suicide. So she chopped off a person's finger in front of everyone. She even ordered her subordinates to chop off everyone's manhood. That scene was really... I was standing outside at that time. I didn't dare to make a sound even when I heard it. I was almost scared to death. The middle-aged man, who used to be a lighting technician at Baiguang Model Agency, now working for Yao Lily's company, exclaimed in horror. As he spoke, he glanced sideways at Yun Jian, unable to hide the fear in his voice. Hearing that Yun Jian had the ability to chop off a person's finger in front of everyone, Lu Yan was so scared that her face turned pale. She was just a teenage girl. She actually dared to chop off a person's finger. Just as she was thinking about it, Yao Lily's words to Yun Jian were heard again. The meaning of his words made Lu Yan, Director Zheng, and the others go crazy again. Sis, why are you so gentle now? I remember that in the past, just because a subordinate of a small organization said a few words to you, you directly let that small group bleed the mountains and rivers. Yao Lily's casual words sounded as if they had heard something horrifying in everyone's ears. Just because of a few words, Yun Jian directly let a small organization bleed the mountains and rivers? Was she really just a teenage girl in her prime? Chapter 15:10. Only Director Zheng, Lu Yan, the middle-aged man, and Lin Wan could hear their conversation. Chaotian Hotel was huge and the second floor was ridiculously large. There was a group of people walking back and forth with wine glasses in their hands. The wine glasses were filled with red wine, grape wine, and other alcoholic beverages. The scene was noisy and everyone was talking about their own things. No one had the time to pay attention to this side. Therefore, only a few people could hear the conversation between Yao Lily and Yun Jian. At this moment, even Lin Wan was in a state of shock, not to mention Director Zheng, Lu Yan, and the middle-aged man. What did you say? She destroyed a small organization? Director Zheng, who stood not too far away from Yun Jian, gaped, unable to close his mouth as he stared at Yun Jian dumbfoundedly. No one in the room could react to his dumbfounded expression. Lu Yan was so scared that her face turned pale. She couldn't even say a word. Who could tell her that this young lady was so scary? Lu Yan recalled what Yun Jian said when she first saw her. She trembled. Could it be that Yun Jian really had some sort of backing? She just said that to Yun Jian. Would Yun Jian make a move on her? Lu Yan was a little afraid because Lu Yan was born in the countryside. She was able to climb to her current position because of her excellent bed skills. She seduced many directors and investors in exchange. In the past, Lu Yan was despised by others for being a country bumpkin. When she saw Yun Jian, she remembered that she was ridiculed as a country bumpkin, so she also ridiculed Yun Jian. After all, Lu Yan didn't have a powerful background, so when she thought that Yun Jian had a powerful background, she was really scared. But thinking about it carefully, she was now an international movie queen. Who could do anything to her? Especially a girl like Yun Jian. She probably only looked powerful on the surface, but in reality she probably didn't have a powerful background. In addition, for the sake of her own face, Lu Yan naturally could not show a weak appearance. While everyone was still in a daze, Yun Jian replied to Yao Lily's message. When she replied to Yao Lily's message, the corners of her lips curved upwards. She gently pursed her lips into a faint smile and briefly spat out two words, life. In Country Z, she naturally couldn't act like she did in the organization. After all, her family still had to survive in Country Z. Yunjian was not an impulsive person. "Hey superstars, so you're here." At this time, a male voice suddenly interjected from the side. When they turned their heads slightly, they could see a man in a suit and leather shoes walking over. The man had short blonde hair, and he looked like a standard handsome man in the eyes of Westerners. Big eyes, a high nose bridge and fair skin. Without even looking, it was obvious that this man was a superstar. The man spoke in Chinese, but his Chinese wasn't very accurate. Yunjian raised her eyes slightly and glanced at the man, then turned her gaze back. The man whistled and looked at Yunjian's otherworldly face for a long time. Yunjian didn't know this man at all, but Lin Wan, who was next to her, instantly screamed when she saw the man. "Richard. It's actually Richard. The Richard who won the Oscar Best Actor award a while ago. He's so handsome. Much more handsome than on TV." Richard's appearance was considered a handsome man in the eyes of Westerners. He had short blonde hair and a high nose bridge. At least in Lin Wan's aesthetic view, Richard's appearance was like a prince on a white horse in her mind. He was graceful and elegant, and no matter what occasion he attended, he gave off a sense of gentlemanliness. However, Richard saw Yunjian at this time, but Richard was a very elegant prince. Even if he only saw Yunjian, he still spoke to Yunjian and Lin Wan in a very polite manner. "Two beautiful princesses, may I know your names?" Chapter 15:11. Richard's appearance attracted the attention of many women present. Regardless of whether it was the surrounding staff or some small female celebrities, they all sized up Richard. It was not an exaggeration to say that Richard was a graceful prince. The girls all fantasized that one day, their Prince Charming would ride a white horse to welcome them back to the big castle. It was precisely because of this fairy tale that Richard's appearance and words and actions were in line with the standards of a fairy tale, that he became popular. As an actor, Richard's appearance was undoubtedly in line with the standards of women's aesthetics. As a graceful prince, his words and actions were no different from the image of a Prince Charming in everyone's mind. Just like now, Richard was bending down, putting his hands together, and bowing 90 degrees to Yunjian and Lin Wan. Bowing before asking for someone's name was the etiquette of Richard's country. After Richard became popular, there were even people who said that Richard was a noble prince of a certain country. In the world, there were still many countries that adhered to the king system. In a country, one leader had the final say, and the leader's relatives were the nobles in the palace. As early as when the last emperor of Country Z abdicated, such a tyrannical system had been overthrown. In today's world, there were still many countries that retained such a king system. Therefore, when Richard became popular, there were reporters who tried to track him down. In the end, they found out that his background was quite huge. He was also a prince of a certain country. When this news came out, it was a direct sensation in the entertainment industry. After many people heard this news, they liked Richard even more. After all, Richard became popular as a Prince Charming when he first appeared. The Prince Charming that Richard played was not only handsome, but also elegant and gentlemanly like a real prince. After the news that Richard was suspected to be a real prince of a certain country was exposed, the entire entertainment industry was shaken. More importantly, after this, Richard became even more popular. A man with an elegant and gentle temperament like a Prince Charming acted as a Prince Charming. Later, it was reported that someone had seen him return to his castle. Most likely he was a real prince. Once this news was reported, Richard became popular throughout the entertainment industry. He also became a Prince Charming in the hearts of countless girls. Lin Wan was a little girl who was completely mesmerized by Richard's handsomeness. Previously, when she saw Richard on TV, Lin Wan was mesmerized. Now that Richard was standing in front of her, Lin Wan felt that Richard was even more handsome in person than on TV. Lin Wan had been staring at Richard since he appeared. Now that she heard Richard ask for her name, she immediately rushed to reply, "My name is Lin Wan. This is my friend Yunjian." When Richard heard Yunjian's name, he almost forgot about Lin Wan. Then he added in a gentlemanly manner, "Yunjian, that's a nice name. Ahem, Lin Wan, your name is not bad either." But at the same time, Richard's eyes were still fixed on Yunjian. "Kid, I haven't seen you for a long time. You're getting better and better." Yao Lily walked over and patted Richard on the shoulder. Obviously, Yao Lily and Richard had a good relationship. "Sister Lily, you haven't come to my house for a long time. My sister talks about you every day. Do you want to bring your two friends to my house for 2 days next week? Let's get to know each other better." Richard glanced at Yunjian, then spoke to Yao Lily in a very familiar manner. Of course, his innate gentlemanly manner was still the same as before. Chapter 15:12. Lin Wan was probably the only person who couldn't tell that Richard was indirectly inviting Yun Jian to his house to play. When Lin Wan heard that Richard wanted Yao Lily to bring her and Yun Jian to his house to play, she almost jumped up in excitement. However, years of family education made Lin Wan suppress her inner emotions. In a place where no one could see, Lin Wan was holding Yun Jian's hand tightly at this moment. She was so excited that she almost screamed out loud. Richard was a superstar. An international superstar. He even won an Oscar for Best Actor. With such an achievement and the fact that Richard was most likely a real prince, coupled with his handsome face, high nose bridge, fair skin, and big eyes, Lin Sanjiu could not help but wonder. He was the Prince Charming in the hearts of girls. There was no one else like him. Logically speaking, Lin Wan wasn't even qualified to meet a superstar like Richard. However, Richard actually invited Lin Wan to his house to play. Lin Wan felt that if she didn't hold Yun Jian's hand at this moment, she was afraid that she would have fainted from the excitement. Do you provide food and accommodation? If you provide food and accommodation, we can stay there for a few days. Yao Lily laughed twice, then patted Richard's shoulder and raised her hand to withdraw from Richard's shoulder. Yao Lily was obviously joking. Richard naturally knew that Yao Lily was joking, so Richard responded, "Of course, if Sister Lily brings her friends to play, I will provide food and accommodation here. You can also go on a scenic tour. There are a lot of scenic spots in our country." Richard said so much just because he wanted Yun Jian to go with them. Yun Jian might not have the intention to follow, but Lin Wan was completely infatuated with him. Richard said until here, and then he turned to look at Yun Jian and Lin Wan and solemnly invited, "Two beautiful princesses, I welcome you to travel to my country next week. How about it?" When Richard said this, his eyes were fixed on Yun Jian, as if he was waiting for Yun Jian's reply. Lin Wan didn't notice that Richard was staring at Yun Jian. The moment she was invited by Richard, Lin Wan shook Yun Jian's hand and almost jumped up in excitement. "I'll go. We'll go. We'll definitely go." Movie king Richard invited them to his country to play. Lin Wan was Richard's fan. As a movie fan, Lin Wan definitely had to go when Richard invited her. "Yun Jian, let's go together, okay? Go and just treat it as a trip." Lin Wan shook Yun Jian's arm and pouted. She looked quite cute. Let's go." Since Lin Wan wanted to go, Yun Jian didn't mind. Coincidentally, Xiao Yunju and the other two had stayed at home for a long time. Yun Jian planned to take Xiao Yunju and the other two out for a walk. Speaking of which, Xiao Yunju and the other two hadn't been abroad before. This time it would be a good idea to take the three of them out to see the world. "But I want to bring my brother and sister along," Yun Jian said. How could Richard reject Yun Jian when she said that she wanted to go with them? Go. The more the merrier, the merrier. Richard was afraid that Yun Jian would change her mind and say that she wouldn't go, so he quickly said. Lu Yan actually liked Richard a lot. So when she heard that Yun Jian and Lin Wan were invited to go to Richard's country, she shamelessly looked at Richard and said, "Brother Richard, you're going to go to Richard's country. Brother Chad, they're all going to your country. Does your little sister Lu Yan want to go with them?" Richard felt a chill in his heart when he heard Lu Yan's words. However, he still nodded and said, "Let's all go together. It'll be fun." Lin Wan suddenly thought of mooing, so she quickly asked Richard, can I bring my other friend along?" Chapter 15:13. After the dinner party at Yao Lily's company ended, Lin Wan was still holding on to Yun Jian's hand on the way back to the dormitory. She couldn't believe that Richard had really invited her and Yun Jian to his country for a vacation. Logically speaking, Richard was a public figure and Richard usually wouldn't invite people to his home. After all, as a public figure and a famous international movie king, Richard was most afraid of people knowing where his home was and his identity and status. However, Richard had actually invited her and Yun Jian to his home. Lin Wan couldn't believe it. "We have to hurry and tell Mooing this good news. We'll be leaving after school on May 1st next week. Tell her to pack her things and get ready." As Lin Wan spoke, she took out her phone and dialed Mu Ying's number. These days, Mu Ying had been sticking to Mad Dragon every day. She had originally given up on being with Mad Dragon because she felt that she wasn't good enough for Mad Dragon. They were no longer people from the same world. However, Mad Dragon had been staying in Min City these days, pestering Mu Ying day and night. At night, when Mu Ying was resting in the Mu family's villa, Mad Dragon directly jumped in through the window on the second floor. When Mu Ying reacted, she felt that the window behind her was opened. When the cold wind blew, The moment she turned around, Mad Dragon hugged her from behind. Then he forced her to be intimate with him. Mu-Ying tried her best to reject him, but it was to no avail. In the end, Mu-Ying could only compromise. It was just like how the Mad Dragon had not eaten his favorite piece of meat for hundreds of years. Now that the most delicious piece of meat had disappeared forever, he suddenly discovered that it had reappeared one day. If it weren't for Mu-Ying's strong refusal, Mad Dragon would have eaten her. Of course, even now, Mad Dragon and Mu-Ying had already done everything except for the last step. At this moment, Mu-Ying and Mad Dragon were lying naked on the bed. At this moment the phone rang. Mu-Ying hesitated for a while. In the end, she glanced at Mad Dragon and gestured Mad Dragon to shush him. Then she picked up the phone. As soon as he picked up the phone, Lin Wan's voice immediately came out. Mu-Ying, let me tell you, we've been invited by the international superstar Richard to his country. I'm really happy. I've already said that I want to go with you. Are you going? Let's go together, okay? Mu-Ying glanced at Mad Dragon and refused. I think I'll pass. On the other end, Lin Wan, who had offered Mu-Ying a lot of benefits but was rejected by Mu-Ying, could only hang up helplessly. She's not going. We'll have to go together then. Lin Wan was only asking Mu-Ying to go with them out of kindness. She thought that everyone liked to see superstars, but since Mu-Ying refused to go, Lin Wan would not force her. Yunjian replied with a press of her red lips. A week passed quickly. On Friday, school was dismissed. Yunjian went back to Longmen City to bring Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan and Lin Wan to meet Yao Lily. Yao Lily, Lu Yan and Richard were international superstars, but they had not left country Z. It was obvious that they were waiting for Yunjian and Lin Wan. Yunjian and Lin Wan brought Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan, and Lu Yan, who were carrying small backpacks, to meet Yao Lily and the others at the airport. Lu Yan glanced at Yunjian once they met and scoffed softly before moving to the side. Yao Lily, Lu Yan and Richard were fully armed at the airport. It was necessary. Although they were in country Z, if they were recognized as international superstars, not only would they be surrounded, Yunjian, Lin Wan, and the others would be implicated as well. Richard was the prince of country H and they were flying to country H together. Yunjian only brought a backpack that contained some of Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan and Lu Yan's textbooks. Yunjian was worried that Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan and Lu Yan would be too tired, so she took some of the textbooks from Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan, and Lu Yan's backpacks and carried them on her back. Xiao Yunju rubbed his hands in the airport waiting room. Richard saw that Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan, and Lu Yan held a special place in Yunjian's heart, so he squatted down in front of Xiao Yunju and tried to butter them up. Little brother, little sister, you're so cute. As he spoke, Richard took out 3 lollipops from his trouser pocket and handed them to Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan and Lu Yan. Xiao Yunju, Lu Yan and Lu Yan took the lollipops, but Xiao Yunju still complained when he took the lollipops. I still prefer the lollipops that Big Brother CE gave us. Richard's eyes flickered when he heard Lu Yan call him Big Brother CE, but Richard didn't know who Lu Yan was referring to. Big sister, why didn't Big Brother CE come? I want to see Big Sister and Big Brother CE kissing. Xiao Yunju pouted and turned his head to Yunjian as he spoke. Richard trembled when he heard this. Who was this Big Brother CE that Lu Yan was talking about? He even kissed Yunjian before? Richard's expression darkened at once. Just as he was thinking this, a mellow voice sounded. What entered Richard's eyes was a man who was taller, more handsome, and more perfect than him. He was so perfect that even gods and men would be envious of him. Of course I'll kiss my woman. Why didn't you call me along when you went out to play? Xiao Jian, you haven't learned your lesson? Toward the end of his words, Richard saw the handsome man who was more outstanding than him and had attracted all the girls' gazes the moment he appeared walking over from behind Yunjian. The man wrapped his arm around Yunjian's slim waist and took the heavy backpack from Yunjian with his other hand to carry it on his back. It was as if he was reluctant to let her carry such a heavy backpack and was afraid that she would tire herself out. Coupled with his doting gaze on Yunjian, it was as if he couldn't bear to let her carry such a heavy backpack. Lastly, he intimately leaned into Yunjian's ear and said the embarrassing words in front of everyone. Richard's face darkened to the extreme. Chapter 15-14. Richard saw Ce hugging Yunjian's slender waist and leaning intimately against Yunjian. He even lowered his head slightly and whispered in Yunjian's ear. Seeing this scene, Richard almost went crazy on the spot. However, years of cultivation allowed Richard to suppress his anger. He tried his best to pull out a handsome smile and said to Ce, "Little brother, you are?" Richard was obviously older than Ce, Ce was only 20 years old, but Richard was already 25. Richard was 9 years older than Yunjian, but Richard didn't feel that he was older. In their country, it was normal for men to be older than women by 10 to 20 years. Richard also knew that Yunjian wasn't old enough to get married in country Z. As long as she wasn't married, he had a way to snatch Yunjian away from Ce. Therefore Richard wasn't in a hurry. Richard planned to learn more about Ce. Only then would he have a way to snatch Yunjian away from Ce. After all, Richard was a prince of country H's royal bloodline. No matter what, he was better than this man who came out of nowhere. Richard was waiting for Ce's reply. He originally thought that Ce would introduce his name and age to him. However, to his surprise, Ce cast a sidelong glance at Richard with his hawk-like sharp eyes. Richard was startled by Ce's glance. However, he saw Ce's thin lips curl up slightly. He hugged Yunjian's slender waist and announced his possession. "I'm her husband." "Husband? Husband." The next exclamation came from Lu Yen and Yao Lily. The former had been staring at Ce. She had never seen such a handsome man and was mesmerized by him. The latter, Yao Lily, was surprised. How could someone like SS be married? "SS, you're married? What kind of joke is this? You actually—" Yao Lily looked at Yunjian in horror and asked. Although Yao Lily didn't know Yunjian's exact identity, she knew that Yunjian was an internationally shocking existence. She was someone that no one could surpass and could only be admired from afar. Back then Yao Lily could enter and leave Anhun freely. Other than the 4 leaders of Anhun and the leader of the organization, Yao Lily did not know who else could do so. Yao Lily thought that someone like Yunjian would never be able to find a partner in this lifetime. She didn't expect that Yunjian was married. Richard froze on the spot when he heard what Ce said. She was married? He thought that Ce was at most Yunjian's boyfriend. He never expected Ce to be Yunjian's husband. Haha, little brother, you really know how to joke. Aren't you Chinese not allowed to get married before reaching the legal age? Although I'm a foreigner, I still know this common knowledge. Don't lie to me that I'm not educated. Richard tried his best to act normal so that he wouldn't show that he was overly worried about Yunjian. Richard just wanted to hear that Yunjian wasn't married. Unexpectedly, Ce reached into his trouser pocket and took out the country or marriage certificate that he always carried with him. Then he waved it in front of Richard, Lu Yen and Yao Lily. As if he was afraid that the marriage certificate before him would be torn apart, Ce tucked the precious marriage certificate back into his pants pocket after showing it off expressionlessly with a small smile on his lips. Country or marriage certificate. Xiao Jian and I are officially married. The familiar scene made Yunjian tug at the corners of her lips. Chapter 15:15. Seeing Ce showing off his and Yunjian's marriage certificate, Richard's face darkened to the extreme. He looked as if he had stepped on dog shit. She's really married? She's really married? Oh my god. Sis, you're really married? Before Richard could recover from his shock, Yao Lily could no longer control her inner feelings after seeing Ce showing off his marriage certificate. She screamed at Yunjian. Yes. Yunjian nodded slightly, tacitly acknowledging the fact that she and Ce were married. Oh my god, you didn't even inform me that you're married. When are you going to invite me to your wedding? Yao Lily walked up to Yunjian. If Ce wasn't standing behind Yunjian, she would have walked over and wrapped her arms around Yunjian's shoulders. Brother Ce said that sister is going to university, so he's going to hold a wedding banquet. Then we'll be able to eat really delicious wedding candies. Duanli shook the 2 braids on her head and blinked cutely at Yao Lily. Wow, little girl, you're so cute. Yao Lily squatted down and patted Duanli's head. Duanli shyly hid behind Xiao Yunju. Richard's eyes turned red when he saw Ce holding Yunjian's hand. Envy was inevitable. Richard really wished that he was the one holding Yunjian's hand. However, many years of self-control allowed Richard to control himself from swearing. Lu Yen stood at the side and envied Yunjian so much that her eyes shone. Although she won the title of International Best Actress some time ago, she had suffered a lot of setbacks before she obtained this title. In other words, she had to serve many men. Sometimes she would even be beaten up by perverted men. Finally, she obtained her current status. But what about Yunjian? How did she get Richard's love so easily? If Yunjian wanted to enter the entertainment industry, just by the fact that she was liked by Richard, as long as she agreed to be his mistress, it would be a piece of cake for her to reach her current position. Lu Yen just could not stand Yunjian acting all high and mighty when she had such a great opportunity. By the way, is your friend back from the toilet? We'll be boarding soon, Yao Lili reluctantly put down the cute Duan Li and stood up to ask Yun Jian. Lin Wan had gone to the washroom before Ce appeared and had yet to return. I'll go take a look. Yun Jian tilted her head and said. There's no need. She's already back. Yao Lili suddenly saw Lin Wan running towards them happily from not too far away. The few of them then looked towards Lin Wan. Lu Yin stood behind Yao Lili. She frowned and immediately reached out to Yao Lili's hat and mask from behind her. Yao Lili was an international superstar and a public figure. She stood there waiting to board the plane, fully armed. She wore a cap on her head and a mask on her mouth. She was completely afraid of being recognized by the fans at the airport. If she was chased by them, it would cause chaos. Lu Yin quietly pulled Yao Lili's hat and mask off her head. In this way, Yao Lili's face was directly exposed in front of everyone. Lu Yin, you. Yao Lili finally reacted. Some people had already noticed Yao Lili. Hey, that's the international superstar Yao Lili. Oh my god. Yao Lili is at the airport. Hurry up and chase after her. When the people around them noticed Yao Lili, they immediately became restless. In an instant, everyone rushed over to her. She turned her head and saw that Lu Yin had already hidden herself. In such a situation, Yao Lili was likely to be surrounded by the crowd. After all, as a public figure, being exposed in a public place would cause chaos. There might even be a stampede. As soon as Lin Wan came over, she was shocked by the crowd. This was obviously done by Lu Yin on purpose. If Yun Jian and Ce were not here and Xiao Yunzhu, Duan Li and Duan Ye were children, there would be a high possibility of a stampede when the crowd gathered around Yao Lili. Xiao Yunzhu, Duan Li and Duan Ye, who were not tall, would have a high chance of dying. Yun Jian's face darkened. She commanded without fear, Yao Lili, lead the crowd to the east and run to the west. Get on the plane immediately. I'll see you on the plane. With that, Yun Jian picked up Duan Ye. Chapter 15-16. Richard had already noticed Lu Yan's actions when she tore off Yao Lili's mask and hat. Lu Yan wanted to cause a riot at the airport, so she tore off Yao Lili's mask and hat. As an international superstar, Yao Lili was immediately discovered. Richard was not stupid. Of course he could see that Lu Yan did not like Yun Jian. She exposed Yao Lili in front of everyone at the airport. Her purpose was obvious. Because Yun Jian and Yao Lili were friends, when Lu Yan tore off Yao Lili's mask, the surrounding people would immediately discover the identity of Yao Lili and rush forward. In this way, Yun Jian would also be surrounded. Lu Yan was definitely thinking that she would be satisfied if she could hurt Yun Jian even a little bit. Richard saw Lu Yan's actions and did not stop her when he had the ability to. That was because he wanted to be a hero and save the beauty. Yun Jian would definitely be frightened by the situation just now. Yao Lili was surrounded by fans. Yun Jian and Ce, who were standing next to Yao Lili, must have never encountered such a situation of being surrounded by so many people. Especially Yun Jian, she would definitely be frightened. At this time, Richard originally wanted to take advantage of the chaos to grab Yun Jian's hand and take her away from the riot before his identity was exposed, so that Yun Jian would have a good impression of him. Richard thought that a delicate and beautiful girl like Yun Jian would definitely be at a loss when encountering such a situation. Then he would go over and grab her hand, taking her out of this terrifying place surrounded by people amidst the chaos. Yun Jian would definitely be captivated by his extraordinarily handsome side. Richard was probably thinking too much. He would never have thought that Yun Jian would be able to remain calm in the face of a large wave of people armed with machine guns. Now that she was surrounded by a group of weak people, how could she be afraid? Richard's idea was beautiful, but the reality was that after Yun Jian calmly gave instructions to retreat, she turned around and led Xiao Yunzhu and Lin Wan away with Ce without looking back. She gave instructions so well that it was as if she was born to be the ruler of the crowd. Richard originally wanted to chase after Yun Jian and Ce, but surprisingly Yun Jian and Ce left his sight after a while. The crowd behind him quickly blocked Richard's path to catch up with him. I can't take it anymore. Yun Jian, I have to go to the toilet again. My stomach hurts, Lin Wan said as she clutched her stomach when she followed Yun Jian and Ce to the boarding gate. You guys board the plane first. I'll be there in a while, Lin Wan said to Yun Jian and Ce before running to the toilet. Sister, let's board the plane. Xiao Yunzhu, who was grabbed by the collar by Ce, was finally put down on the ground. He said excitedly to Yun Jian and Ce. Seeing that Xiao Yunzhu, Duan Li and Duan Ye were so excited, Yun Jian held Duan Li and Duan Ye's hands while Si grabbed Xiao Yunju's collar and boarded the plane first. Since they were traveling with Yao Lily and the other two superstars, Yun Jian and the others had bought first-class tickets. Xiao Yunju and the other two each had a seat. There weren't many first-class passengers. Perhaps because Yun Jian and the others boarded the plane earlier, there weren't many passengers on the plane. Si Yi's seat was right next to Yun Jian's and he was holding Yun Jian's hand tightly. Many planes could be seen through the window, so Xiao Yunju and the others were so excited that they couldn't care less about Yun Jian and Si Yi. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yao Lily and Richard finally broke through the crowd and boarded the plane. Richard had just boarded the plane when he saw Si Yi sitting next to Yun Jian. He sat in his seat and leaned over Yun Jian's body. He placed his long and slender hand on the back of Yun Jian's head and leaned over Yun Jian's chest. He lowered his head slightly. From afar, Si Yi looked like he was lowering his head to kiss Yun Jian. Richard immediately clenched his fists. At this moment, Si Yi saw Richard's figure reflected in the plane's window. His thin lips curved and he directly kissed Yun Jian's alluring red lips in front of Richard and the others. Si Yi was originally helping Yun Jian tuck her hair behind her ear. However, when he suddenly kissed her, Yun Jian couldn't react at all. She even accidentally let out a soft moan. Emma? Chapter 15-17. He did it on purpose. He had purposely kissed Yun Jian in front of him. Richard was so angry that he almost vomited blood because of Si Yi's actions. Richard entered the entertainment industry because of his interest. In addition, he had a strong background and was born handsome. Richard was undoubtedly a lucky man who had been kissed by God. In the entertainment industry, Richard had never hit a wall. Whether it was in love or in his career, Richard had always been a smooth-sailing person. But when it came to love, Richard had always been strict. He wanted to find a woman that he truly liked. Over the years he had met and interacted with many women, but Richard had never met one that he liked. Until a week ago when he saw Yun Jian. That day Yun Jian stood in the distance. Her exquisite and beautiful face and figure were not as enchanting as Yao Lily's, nor were they as seductive as Lu Yan's. But Richard had never seen such a beautiful girl. Her figure, which was not considered tall, was just right for gold. Her face, which was not enchanting or seductive, had a hint of the purity and beauty of a young girl. Also, her small lips opened and closed. Richard admitted that he had never seen such a beautiful girl. So at that time he was deeply fascinated by Yun Jian and could not extricate himself. So much so that when he found out that Yun Jian had a man and was even married, he did not want to give up. Richard was the Prince Charming in the hearts of countless girls. He sat on a country's property and was the real prince of each country. Whether it was his looks, wealth, identity or status, he was an impeccable existence. In the past, if he liked any woman, she would try her best to climb into his bed. But now he had hit a wall repeatedly. Si Yi had not really kissed Yun Jian's little mouth. In the end, he saw Richard coming in from outside the plane. Originally, he only wanted to tuck Yun Jian's hair behind her ear. But when Richard came in, he really kissed Yun Jian's little mouth in front of everyone. Yun Jian was kissed suddenly. The moment Si Yi kissed her, her eyes widened. After looking at Si Yi for 2 seconds, she closed her eyes. Knowing Si Yi's character of not giving up until he achieved his goal, Yun Jian simply reached out and kissed Si Yi back in front of Richard. Seeing this scene, Richard wanted to vomit blood even more. Most importantly, Xiao Yunju and the other three beside them noticed Yun Jian and Si Yi's actions. Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Ye clapped their hands excitedly. It's kissing. Brother Si Yi and sister are kissing each other again. Kissing each other? When Richard heard this, he wanted to vomit blood even more. Did this mean that this was not the first time Si Yi and Yun Jian had done this? Ahem. Can't you guys watch the occasion? This is a public place and there are people passing by. Kissing her in front of so many people, is that all you have? Richard resisted the urge to rush forward and pull Si Yi away. He tried his best to control his emotions and tried to speak to Si Yi calmly. In the end, Richard gritted his teeth as he spoke to Si Yi. After hearing Richard's words, Si Yi finally raised his head and let go of Yun Jian's tender lips. Richard could clearly see the traces of Si Yi's kiss on Yun Jian's red lips. Richard clenched his fists again. On the other side, Si Yi smirked and retorted Richard with his lips curled into a smirk. We are legally married. It's legal for me to kiss her. Si Yi's slender fingers ran through Yun Jian's hair. When he spoke, his face was very close to Yun Jian's, but his words were directed at Richard. Si Yi said this smoothly. Just as he said this, Si Yi's lips curled again. This time he turned to look at Yun Jian with his black eyes. His eyes revealed an endless amount of affection. After a pause, Ce spoke again shamelessly. This time he directly said something that made Richard so angry that he almost couldn't stand. Chapter 15-18. The last part of Ce's words really infuriated Richard, driving him mad. But he had sex with Yun Jian? When Yun Jian heard Ce say this so naturally with Xiao Yunju and the other two little cuties sitting next to them, she reached out and pinched Ce. This made Richard even crazier. Didn't Yun Jian's subtle action show that she and Ce had a good relationship? However, this was not the end of it. Xiao Yunju also joined in. Brother Ce and sister always play kissing on the bed and they don't even let us watch. Shame, shame. Brother Ce and sister are having an affair. As soon as Xiao Yunju finished speaking, he was dragged by Duan Li and Duan Ye to run and play with all the seats on the plane. They were having a great time. The plane had not taken off yet. The airport in 1999 was not as strict as it was now, and there were some essential differences. Xiao Yunju's words almost made Richard explode. I'm going to the washroom, Richard said through gritted teeth. Ce sneered. At the same time, he did not let go of Yun Jian's hand. The moment the plane was about to take off, Lin Wan boarded the plane. Seeing Ce and Yun Jian together, Lin Wan was not surprised. She already knew about the relationship between Ce and Yun Jian. Originally, Ce did not have a seat. Lin Wan gave the seat to Ce and Lin Wan squeezed in with Duan Ye. The airport in this era was not as strict as it was now. Lu Yan was the last to board the plane. As soon as Lu Yan boarded the plane, she was caught by Yao Lily. Lu Yan, what did you mean just now? Yao Lily's expression was very ugly. What do you mean? You're blocking me. Get out of my way. Lu Yan pushed the Yao Lily aside and walked over to her seat arrogantly. Yao Lily and Lu Yan had always been on bad terms. Today's incident had taught Yao Lily a lesson. Next time he decided to guard against Lu Yan. From here to country H, it would take about 10 hours by long-distance flight. 10 hours later they finally arrived at their destination. H country is a very beautiful country. It is not poor. It is a highly developed capitalist country, famous for seawalls, windmills, tulips and a tolerant social atmosphere. As soon as they got off the plane and walked out of the airport, Yun Jian and the others could see the tulip lawn filled with eyeballs. The scenery in front of him was very beautiful, giving people a feeling that nothing could be more beautiful. The butler has sent someone to pick us up. They will be here soon. Richard had been looking at Ce holding Yun Jian's hand and said casually. As soon as he finished speaking, a large tour bus drove over. Everyone got on the bus and was led by Richard's butler to the royal courtyard of country H, Richard's home. As soon as they entered the royal courtyard, even an international superstar like Lu Yan could not help but exclaim, "Oh my God, isn't this place too luxurious? It's just like a castle." Hearing Lu Yan's praise, Richard turned to look at Yun Jian. Richard looked as if he wanted to be praised by Yun Jian. After all, the place he was most proud of was this huge royal courtyard of his home. This was completely a Western castle, a fairy tale world in girls' fantasies. Just when Richard looked at Yun Jian with confidence and thought that Yun Jian would definitely praise him, he heard Yun Jian's indifferent voice. The famous royal courtyard of country H is just SOSO. Yun Jian's words were light, but in Lu Yan's ears, it immediately changed the meaning. A what? Have you ever seen a place more luxurious than this? This is the royal courtyard of country H. It's rare in the world. As an international movie star, I have been to so many places, but I have never seen a place more luxurious than this. You're just a teenage girl. Have you ever been to a place more luxurious than this? Chapter 15-19. Everyone could tell from Lu Yan's sarcasm that she disliked Yun Jian. Everyone present didn't like Lu Yan's existence, but Richard was too embarrassed to drive her away. After all, Lu Yan was an international superstar and had won an International Best Actress award not too long ago. She had countless fans and her current status in the international scene was not to be trifled with. Lu Yan was already prejudiced against Yun Jian, so when Yun Jian said what she said just now, Lu Yan was aggressive toward Yun Jian. She was merely using Yun Jian's words to oppress Yun Jian. This place is indeed small and run down. Ce spoke before Yun Jian could speak, his gaze fixed on Yun Jian. Right after he said that, Lu Yan twitched her lips and was about to retort Ce who was speaking up for Yun Jian when Ce's rich voice rang again. It can't even compare to the corner of Mai and Xiao Jian's newlywed room. Siyi's ability to lie through his teeth was getting better and better. Even the most illusory things could be said to be true by him. Once he said that Richard's focus was no longer on the fact that his country H's royal courtyard was being questioned. Instead, newlywed room? They even had a newlywed room. Although he knew that Ce and Yunjian were legally married in country R since they had a marriage certificate in country R, Richard still could not accept it. He had finally taken a liking to a woman and she ended up doing everything with someone else. Cough, cough, cough. My father knows that you're coming and has ordered my mother to set up a banquet in the palace. Shall we go over now? Richard did not want to hear Ce boasting about how loving he and Yunjian were, so he quickly changed the topic. Although Richard looked calm on the surface, his heart was actually broken. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Ce was satisfied. He held Yunjian's hand with one hand and Xiao Yunju with the other. Yunjian held Duanli's hand while Duanli held Duanya's hand. The group of people walked towards the country H's palace. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were walking in the palace. Looking around, if they had not been to places bigger and more luxurious than this, they would really think that this was the biggest and most luxurious place. The ruler of country H was Richard's father, the king of country H. Of course, Richard's father was busy dealing with the country's affairs every day. Trivial matters like entertaining guests or managing the palace naturally fell to Richard's mother. The royal palace of country H was completely different from the royal palace of country Z. The royal palace of country H was completely built with Western architecture. It looked tall and powerful. As soon as she walked into the royal palace of H country, Yunjian saw a graceful and luxuriously dressed woman sitting at a long table not far away. The table was about 10 meters long and there were all kinds of refreshments on it. As long as one looked from afar, one would know that this was definitely the style of a noble. The woman was wearing an exclusive queen's crown on her head. Needless to say, this woman was Richard's mother and also the queen of country H, Marcia. You're back? The woman sat in a dignified manner. She looked up at Richard and asked in country H's own language. Lu Yin, Lin Wan, and the others didn't understand. Mother, I'm back. These are my friends. After Richard greeted Marcia, the queen of country H, he said calmly to Marcia. Yes, Suli has been thinking about you. Looking at the time, it's time for her to come downstairs, Marcia said. She was still talking to Richard in country H's language. Suli was Richard's younger sister. As soon as Marcia finished speaking, Yunjian raised her eyebrows. The next second, she saw a figure running down a spiral staircase somewhere in the palace. It was a delicate-looking little girl about 11 or 12 years old. Chapter 15-20. Suli was Richard's younger sister. Yao Lily had been to H country before because Yao Lily and Richard were close friends. Yao Lily had been to H country before, so Suli and Yao Lily had known each other for a long time. Suli liked Yao Lily very much, so when she saw Yao Lily, Suli immediately threw herself at her. Is this Miss Lu Yen who won the International Movie Queen Award recently? As the Queen of H country, Marcia was fluent in many languages. Chinese was the most common language, so as the Queen of H country, Marcia was naturally fluent in it. At this moment, Marcia turned to Lu Yen and asked in Chinese, Beautiful queen I am. Lu Yen behaved appropriately in front of a person of high status. She first saluted Marcia with H country's etiquette and then replied politely, Sister Lily is my distinguished guest. She has been to our house before. Suli said to Marcia while holding one of Yao Lily's hands. Yes. Marcia was a very noble lady. Hearing Suli's words, Marcia nodded at Suli. As the Queen of H country, Marcia paid a lot of attention to her words and actions. After getting to know Yao Lily and Lu Yen, Marcia glanced at Yunjian, Ce and Lin Wan with Her Majesty as the queen. Seeing that Yunjian and the others were not well dressed and did not behave like the nobles in the palace, Marcia did not even bother to ask for Yunjian and Ce's names. Marcia just turned to Richard and said to Richard in a polite manner, let your friends sit down and eat. In Marcia's words, it was obvious that she was the queen while Yunjian and the others were lowly people. But this was normal. After all, Marcia was the Queen of H country. As the Queen of H country, of course she was nobler than others. International stars like Yao Lily and Lu Yen had strong fans. Therefore, Marcia felt that only Yao Lily and Lu Yen could be counted as her distinguished guests. As for Yunjian, Ce, and the rest, they were probably wearing street clothes. As the Queen of H country, of course Marcia would not point at Yunjian and mock her like Peng Kaihui. As the queen, she still had the demeanor of the Queen of H country. Yun Jian and Ce naturally felt that Marcia was mocking them. But Yun Jian and Ce did not care about Marcia's opinion did not matter. If it were not for Yao Lily, Yun Jian would have taken Xiao Yunju and the others to have fun. Before they started eating, Richard, who was sitting 3 meters away from Yun Jian, pointed at the dishes in front of Yun Jian and said, "Yun Jian, the dish in front of you is called herring. It's a specialty of H country. You can try it." Richard still did not give up. Yun Jian's eyes flickered at that, but she did not respond. Marcia, the queen of H country, who was also Richard's mother, saw that her son was so concerned about Yun Jian. She moved her mouth slightly. The etiquette of the palace made Marcia have the habit of eating without talking. Even if the sky fell down, she would eat first and then talk. As soon as Richard finished speaking, Ce, who was sitting next to Yun Jian, picked up a piece of herring with his chopsticks and fed it to Yun Jian. Yun Jian did not think much of it. She held Ce's chopsticks in her mouth and ate the piece of herring. "Is it good?" Ce stared at Yun Jian with his black eyes as if he was the one who made the dish. When Richard saw this, he was so angry that he almost went berserk. "Brother Ce is feeding my sister fish. I want it too. I want it too. Chestnut, give me a piece." Little Yunju asked in anticipation when he saw Ce taking a piece of herring meat for Duanli with his head tilted to look at her. "I can't stand you. Can't you do it yourself?" Duanli said to Xiao Yunju in a playful tone. Chapter 15:21. Duanli fed the herring meat to Xiao Yunju's mouth. Xiao Yunju bit it and chewed for a long time before swallowing it. Of course, he also spat out the fish bones that could not be eaten. Seeing that Xiao Yunju had swallowed the herring meat she fed him, Duanli shook her little head with 2 pigtails. She rested her chin on her hands and looked at Xiao Yunju. She smiled and asked Xiao Yunju, "Is it delicious?" This question was similar to what Ce asked Yun Jian just now. Yun Jian heard that Duanli's question coincided with Ce's. She pursed her lips and did not say anything. "It's delicious. Chestnut's food is the best." Xiao Yunju gave Duanli a thumbs up. During the meal, except for the sentence that Richard said to Yun Jian at the beginning, Yao Lily, Lu Yen and the others all ate in their bowls and did not say anything. The nobles in the palace had stricter requirements than ordinary people when they ate. One of the rules was that they were not allowed to talk during the meal. Otherwise it would be regarded as impolite. This was the opposite in Z country. Z country's custom was to talk while eating. If you did not talk for a minute, you would feel bored. Therefore you must talk while eating. As for people in H country, it was taboo to suck, burp and swallow during the meal. Otherwise it would be regarded as impolite. On the other hand, Yunju and the other 2 boys sucked and burped, wolfing down the food when they were full. It was considered impolite. Ordinary people in H country would usually talk during the meal. However, in the palace of H country, talking was taboo during the meal. Therefore what Xiao Yunju and the other 2 Yun Jian and Ce did just now made Queen Marcia frown. However, Marcia did not say anything as she adhered to the etiquette of not talking while eating. On the other hand, Xiao Yunju and the other 2 were fooling around. Marcia was terrified as she watched them. She felt that these 3 naughty kids would flip the table over. In fear, Marcia ended the meal unhappily. Then, in front of everyone, Marcia asked the maid to rinse her mouth with the prepared mouthwash. She spat the mouthwash back into the basin and wiped her face with a wet towel before standing up. It was so delicious. I'm so full. Duanli rubbed her full belly and said to Xiao Yunju. "Me too." Xiao Yunju stood up handsomely and said. Yun Jian and Ce also stood up. Yao Lily and Lu Yen did not speak throughout the meal. They only spoke when they stood up and left the table. At this moment, Marcia, who could not bear it any longer, stood aside. Marcia calmed herself down and turned to look at Yun Jian, Ce and Xiao Yunju. She paused for a while and frowned. "Are you Z people all so impolite when eating?" Her words were full of contempt and mockery. Of course, as the queen, Marcia could not speak so directly to Yun Jian and the others. After hearing Marcia's words, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly and was about to speak. Richard was afraid that Yun Jian would annoy his mother and make things unpleasant. If that happened, he and Yun Jian would not be able to get together in the future. Therefore, Richard spoke to Marcia before Yun Jian could. Mother, this is the custom of the Z people. Please don't be offended. Let's go out for a walk. Anyone who comes is a guest. Anyone who comes is a guest." After hearing Richard's words, Yun Jian's eyes turned cold. However, no one said anything at this moment. Although Marcia's expression was not good as the Queen of H, she could not get angry. Therefore, Marcia controlled her emotions and turned to look at Lu Yan. She said kindly, "You are Lu Yan, right? Do you want to go out for a walk?" Marcia could tell that her son Richard liked Yun Jian. However, in comparison, Marcia preferred someone like Lu Yan. Her son Richard was already very old. He was already 25 or 26 years old. However, he still had not found a girl that he liked. As his mother, Marcia could not help but feel anxious. On the other hand, Lu Yan was called out by Marcia. She was as excited as a maid in the harem who was appointed by the emperor. She quickly ran over and held Marcia's hand. Then she said very politely, "Okay, beautiful queen, I will accompany you at any time." Marcia liked people like Lu Yan. Therefore, she patted the back of Lu Yan's hand and turned to walk out with Lu Yan. Halfway through, Marcia turned around again. In order to not lose her hospitality as the queen, Marcia invited Yun Jian, Ce Yao Lily and the others. "Come and walk with me. Anyone who comes is a guest." Chapter 1522. Between the host and the guests, the host was usually very polite. Sometimes when the guests came, the host would even go to the gate to welcome the guests. Of course, this was only limited to the hosts who were very polite. However, Marcia gave people the feeling that she was the host. Her words were like orders that must be carried out, because she was a superior person. Even in front of Yao Lily and Lu Yan, Marcia did not lower her attitude. Even though Yao Lily and Lu Yan were international superstars and the spokespersons of the top figures in the entertainment circle. From the beginning to the end, Marcia had always maintained her cold demeanor and had never changed. Of course, all this could be explained by the fact that she was the queen of country H. As the queen of a country, she had to maintain her cold attitude. It's evening now. The weather here is not hot, so it's best to go out for a walk. The scenery in country H is so beautiful. If you take the child out for a walk, she won't be exposed to the sun in this weather. At this time, Yao Lily stood in front of Yun Jian and said to her. At the same time, Yao Lily looked down at Yun Jian's pink little face. Okay. Yun Jian originally did not want to go out with Marcia and the others. However, after hearing Yao Lily's words, he said that the weather was not very hot at this time of the year. If she took the child out for a walk, she would not be exposed to the sun. Considering this point, Yun Jian nodded. If Yun Jian wanted to go, how could Ce not go? Xiao Yunju and the other two also went out with them excitedly. Of course, Marcia had a special car to pick her up when she went out for a walk. After all, if a queen went out for a walk without any attendants or bodyguards, what would happen if she was assassinated? The special car took them to a field of tulips near the royal palace of country H. Tulips were planted by the road and in the field. There were also many herdsmen working in the field of tulips. This was a field of tulips, and there were windmills located not far from each other. Looking from the side of the road into the field, there were endless tulips. Tulips of various colors swayed in the field, giving people a very comfortable sense of beauty. In the evening sky, a red glow shone down from the horizon, hitting the cozy fields, giving people a very comfortable feeling. Walking in the field, Queen Marcia only allowed Lu Yan to hold her hand and chat with her while walking at the front. Yun Jian and the others followed behind. Richard wanted to approach Yun Jian, but was stopped by Ce. Because they were in a field, Xiao Yunju and the other two could run and jump as they pleased. As long as they didn't run into the road, they wouldn't be afraid of other accidents. At this time, Queen Marcia let Lu Yan hold her hand and walked in front. Marcia stopped in the middle of a tulip field. She turned sideways and suddenly asked the people around her on a whim. "What kind of specialties do you girls have?" Marcia looked at the girls around her. She wanted to choose a wife for her son, Richard, who could inherit the position of queen in the future. "Beautiful queen, I know violin, piano, guitar, ballet, Latin dance." Lu Yan knew that Marcia liked her very much, so she deliberately moved closer to Marcia and said shyly. "But I'm not very good at these things. I'm still learning now. My family wasn't very rich in the past, so I just started learning these things now." Lu Yan said and slightly raised her head to look at Marcia. "Good girl. You're the best. If a person liked someone, they would be happy no matter what. But if a person didn't like someone, they would not be happy no matter what." Marcia patted the back of Lu Yan's hand and said gently. Yao Lily and Lin Wan also talked about their specialties. When Yun Jian was asked, Marcia looked at her from the corner of her eyes. "What about you? What kind of musical instruments do you know?" Marcia looked at Yun Jian with an indifferent look. She also didn't expect to hear Yun Jian's reply. Lu Yan glanced at Yun Jian coldly from the corner of her eyes. She thought that Yun Jian definitely didn't know anything and was a country bumpkin. But she didn't expect that Yun Jian's next words would directly stun Queen Marcia, Lu Yen, and all the servants around them. Yun Jian sneered and said, "What I know. Heavy weapons, guns, artillery, missiles, nuclear weapons, tracking and anti-tracking. As long as you can name it, there's nothing I don't know." Chapter 1523. It was not hard to imagine that Queen Marcia was a typical literary person. In her mind, a girl should behave like a good woman. A girl should do something that was worthy of being a girl. She should behave herself at home and be good at music, chess, calligraphy and painting. She should not be too close to men before marriage. Such a girl was the real standard of a future daughter-in-law in Marcia's eyes. Yun Jian and Ce were always together. Marcia did not know about the relationship between Yun Jian and Ce, so she did not have a good first impression of Yun Jian. Moreover, Yun Jian's dressing was not what a noble girl should look like. Therefore, she could tell that Yun Jian was definitely not from a noble family. Therefore, Marcia was instinctively repulsed when she found out that her son was interested in Yun Jian. Lu Yan's behavior was very similar to Marcia's standard of a daughter-in-law. However, her son liked Yun Jian, so it was difficult to make a choice. Therefore, Marcia asked the question just now. Even if Yun Jian knew one or two things that girls should do, Marcia felt that as long as her son liked Yun Jian, she could still consider Yun Jian. Lu Yan could play so many musical instruments, dance and play. She was also an international superstar like her son. Marcia admired Lu Yan very much. Therefore, Marcia was very satisfied with Lu Yan as her daughter-in-law. As for Yun Jian, at most, she had the attitude that her son liked her and she wanted to observe if she was qualified to be her daughter-in-law. However, Marcia did not expect that she only asked Yun Jian if she knew something that girls should know. In the end, Yun Jian actually said that she knew how to use heavy weapons, guns and cannons, missiles and nuclear weapons. She also said that she knew how to kill people. Marcia was completely shocked by Yun Jian's words. God! Was this still something that a girl should say? Weapons, guns and cannons, these were things that men should do. But what about Yun Jian? Yun Jian, on the other hand, actually knew how to use these terrifying weapons. Holding back the urge to faint, Marcia held Lu Yan's arm to hold her so that she did not pass out from the shock of Yun Jian's words. Lu Yan was also shocked by Yun Jian's words. Of course, she was not really shocked. Instead, she thought that Yun Jian was stupid. She actually said that she knew those things? This was not stupid, then what was? As she thought about it, she saw Marcia looking at Yun Jian in disbelief and asking at the same time, "What's the matter? Oh my God. You're just a little girl. Why did you say that you know so many terrifying weapons? You're just spouting nonsense on purpose, aren't you?" Marcia rubbed her forehead as she spoke. She had been queen for so many years, but this was the first time she had heard of such a dangerous thing from a young girl. Of course, Marcia did not believe that Yun Jian knew so many terrifying weapons. After hearing Marcia's words, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. She smiled coldly and said, "Nonsense? If it is not nonsense, then is it true?" Marcia felt that she could not communicate with Yun Jian. She felt that Yun Jian wanted to show off in front of her. She wanted to show that she was crazy, so she said that. Just when Marcia finished her sentence, she saw that Yun Jian, who was standing in front of her, suddenly flipped her hand and a butterfly knife appeared out of thin air. The butterfly knife swayed left and right and flashed past Marcia. It was so fast that Marcia did not even have time to react. By the time Marcia came to her senses, a few strands of her long hair had already been shaved off by Yun Jian with the butterfly knife. The speed of the blade was unparalleled. This change made Marcia's face turn pale. Lu Yen, Richard, and the group of servants around them were also shocked. When everyone looked up at Yun Jian, they saw Yun Jian with a cold smile and said coldly, Chapter 1524. Yun Jian had cut off Marcia's long hair with the butterfly knife. She was so fast that no one could react in time. In addition to what Yun Jian said later and the butterfly knife she held in her hand, it was hard to believe. Marcia was really frightened, even though she did not believe Yun Jian's words. "You are looking down on the royal power. Put down the knife. Otherwise, the soldiers of country H will charge you with murdering the queen and execute you." Marcia was really scared, but the queen's prestige that came from her bones made her unwilling to lower her head. Thus Marcia shouted at Yun Jian. Marcia's backer was the royal family of country H. Other than that, she had nothing. In Marcia's mind, Yun Jian was just an ordinary little girl from country Z. She did not have the ability to fight against the royal family of country H. Once the soldiers of Country H took action, how could she, Yunjian, survive? However, she did not know that Yunjian was not afraid at all. After hearing Marcia's words, Yunjian's smile became more obvious. She curled her lips and revealed a strange smile in front of everyone. You can try and see if your Country H soldiers are faster or if I'm faster when I'm cutting your neck. Yunjian said coldly. Marcia trembled when Yunjian looked at her with her cold eyes. She did not know why. She did not believe that Yunjian could do anything to her, but when she met Yunjian's sharp eyes, she actually felt scared. After all, Marcia was the queen of Country Z. She could not afford to lose her face. Thus, after Yunjian finished her words, Marcia wanted to say something forcefully. However, this time, before Marcia could say anything, Richard pressed her shoulder. Mother, this is just a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Yunjian likes to joke. In Country Z she is still underage. She is not sensible, please forgive her. Richard was so scared that his face turned pale. The girl he liked quarreled with his mother. Was there still any hope for him? Marcia was actually scared by Yunjian. After Richard said that, Marcia immediately followed Richard's words and found herself an excuse. When Marcia was about to scold Yunjian with her status as the queen of country, she saw Ce holding Yunjian's hand and pulling Yunjian into her arms. Seeing this, Marcia was even more annoyed with Yunjian. She turned her head and wanted to find Lu Yen, but found that Lu Yen was not beside her. Where is she? Where did Lu Yen go? Sister. I don't know when Duanya is standing on the road. I'm afraid that a car's coming. Sister, can you quickly carry Duanya down? Duanli ran to Yunjian and said hurriedly to Yunjian. Xiao Yunju and Duanli did not pay attention to Duanya for a while, and Duanya was standing on the road from the field. They did not know how Duanya got up there. There were a lot of cars on the road. It was very likely that an ignorant child would get into trouble if she stood on the road. No one saw that Lu Yen, who had disappeared for a while when Marcia and Yunjian were talking, had returned silently. When Yunjian heard Duanli's words, her heart skipped a beat. Just as she turned around, she saw Duanya standing in the middle of the road in a daze. Not far away, a large truck was driving towards the middle of the road where Duanya was standing. The truck was very big and the driver's seat was very high. The driver was driving the truck and did not notice Duanya, who was standing in the middle of the road in a dazed and pitiful manner. Oh my God! At this moment, even Queen Marcia was shocked. If the truck ran over Duanya's small body, Duanya would definitely die. She might even be crushed into minced meat. Sister. Duanli saw this scene and screamed in fear. It's over, that child. That child is finished. Even the farmers who were farming nearby covered their eyes and did not dare to see what was going to happen next. Chapter 1525. The truck driver was sitting high up in the driver's seat, humming a song as he drove. He did not notice that not far from him, poor Duanya was blinking her eyes as she watched his truck drive over. Duanya did not have much experience, so she was not as witty as Duanli. Perhaps it was because she was born in a poor family and was beaten by her alcoholic father every day, so Duanya had developed a quiet and unreasonable personality. Even now, when the truck drove over, she did not know how many times to shout for help. She just blinked her eyes and stared blankly. Due to her young age, Duanya had no concept of death. The surrounding farmers were shouting for the driver of the truck to stop. However, the driver did not notice Duanya's existence at all. He was humming a song with his eyes closed. From the looks of it, the driver should be listening to music. The people standing around all let out terrified cries. It's over. This little girl is definitely done for. It's a truck. The entire truck is going to run over this little girl. Will she still be alive? Queen Marcia was so frightened by the sudden change that she closed her eyes. Her elegant and graceful posture had already turned pale at this moment. Lu Yen was also shocked. After all, the truck running over a little girl was extremely frightening just thinking about this scene. Richard was also so frightened that his face changed greatly. When everyone's expression changed greatly, a small figure suddenly flashed in front of them. The truck was less than 10 meters away from Duanya's position. Most of the people present closed their eyes, anticipating how bloody the next scene would be. Yunjian ran in that direction as if she was flying. Ce did not move. Based on his understanding of her, she was strong enough to be unharmed. Therefore, Ce grabbed Xiao Yunju and Duanli's collars and did not let Xiao Yunju and Duanli run over there and increase Yunjian's burden. The next moment, Yunjian's small figure stood in the field of tulips. With a kick of her left leg, she jumped onto the road. Then, without stopping, she ran towards Duanya's position. Her speed was comparable to a speeding sports car. Marcia and the others who were standing on the spot were completely dumbfounded. They felt that the reason why the driver didn't stop was that Duanya was too far away from the road where Duanya was standing. It should be known that it would take at least 30 seconds for a normal person to run from here to Duanya's position. What about Yunjian? She actually used a mere 6 seconds to rush in front of Duanya and grab Duanya in the next second. At this moment, the truck was already right in front of Yunjian. The driver suddenly noticed Yunjian and Duanya, but it was too late for him to turn the steering wheel in fear. Yunjian. After Lin Wan reacted, her eyes widened. She strode over there. Richard was also frightened, but he did not rush towards Yunjian. Queen Marcia was also terrified. No one dared to see the bloody scene. However, just when everyone thought that the truck was about to hit Yunjian and Duanya in the last 3 seconds, Yunjian and Duanya were about to be hit. Yunjian, who was about to be hit, grabbed Duanya with one hand. At the moment when the truck was about to hit them, she stomped hard on the ground and leaped up. Seeing this scene from afar, everyone thought that Yunjian was crazy. Then, in the next breath, Yunjian leaped 2 meters high. She landed on the glass of the truck, stepped on a dent in the truck, and jumped again with the help of gravity. In the second jump, Yunjian jumped more than 4 meters high. The truck was at most 3.8 meters high, so Yunjian easily jumped onto the roof of the truck. Without hesitation, she ran 2 steps from the roof of the truck, grabbed Duanya, and jumped down from the roof of the back of the truck, easily avoiding the disaster that almost happened. She jumped from the front of the truck to the roof of the truck, and then jumped down from the back of the truck. Yunjian directly jumped over a truck. And the whole process only took 5 seconds. Marcia, Richard, Lu Yen, and the others who were standing far away suddenly saw this scene. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. Yunjian could actually take people and avoid the collision of the truck at such a high speed. Chapter 1526. Oh my God. Who is this little girl? Is she Superman? She jumped over the roof of the truck. Isn't this something that only supermen in fantasy can do? Oh my God. She is so awesome. She was simply a superwoman. This foreign girl is so awesome. The farmers who were sowing and combing the tulips in their fields were discussing Yunjian's actions in Country H's native language. Queen Marcia, who was standing in the distance, kept changing her expression. As the queen of the kingdom, Marcia had always maintained her calm and graceful demeanor as a queen. What Yunjian did just now, however, took Marcia by surprise. When Yunjian leaped over the roof of the truck and landed steadily to avoid the dangerous car accident with Duanya, Marcia was stunned. Marcia's eyes widened. She looked as if she had encountered something terrifying. This was the first time that Marcia lost her composure in front of others. Oh my God. Yunjian, she. Richard also stared at Yunjian with fear. He was really frightened by Yunjian's skills, so he stammered and could not react for a long time. Lu Yan's face also darkened when she saw that Yunjian had saved Duanya and Yunjian, and that Duanya and Yunjian were unharmed. No one saw that Lu Yan clenched her fists tightly. Lin Wan, who was running towards Yunjian, stopped when she saw this scene. Yao Lily observed the reactions of the people around her. She wasn't too surprised. Instead, she tilted her head slightly and patted Richard's shoulder. She said to Richard, "Don't worry. Hey, SS is much more powerful than this. Just a little thing and you are all so scared, haha." As soon as Yao Lily finished her words, Richard suddenly looked up at Yao Lily. No matter how powerful she is just a little girl. How powerful can she be? Lu Yan was not convinced. Besides, Yao Lily was not on good terms with her, so Lu Yan sneered at Yao Lily first. How could Yunjian be so powerful? No matter how powerful she was just a girl. How powerful could a girl be? Lu Yan did not believe what Yao Lily said about Yunjian wiping out a small organization. Yao Lily was so exasperated by Lu Yan's words that she wanted to reveal Yunjian's identity and scare the latter. Yao Lily knew that Yunjian's identity was related to the senior members of an Hun organization. However, Yao Lily controlled herself. Yao Lily knew that Yunjian's identity should not be exposed. You don't believe me? Just you wait. Yao Lily could not help but argue with Lu Yan again. Then, she stood aside and did not want to talk to Lu Yan anymore. Yao Lily really could not like a woman like Lu Yan. At this moment, everyone saw Yunjian carrying Duanya slowly walking back from the other side of the road. After the initial shock, Marcia was a queen after all. Naturally, she had good leadership skills. Seeing that Yunjian had returned, Marcia reverted back to her calm and graceful queen-like demeanor. Seeing Yun Jian carrying Duanya back, Marcia could not help but scold her. You Z people are not only rude when eating, even your children are not obedient. They run around everywhere. After that, Marcia turned to face Yun Jian with her back and extended her hand to Lu Yen, telling her, Lu Yen, what do you think? Yen, hold my hand. I'm tired. Let's go back to the palace. Marcia had just finished her sentence and reached out her hand to Lu Yen. Lu Yen saw this and did not respond. Suddenly, a fierce kick landed on Lu Yan's abdomen, knocking Lu Yen down on the spot in the tulip field. Queen Marcia only saw a shadow in front of her. When she came back to her senses, she saw that Yun Jian had already kicked Duanya to the ground and the shadow flashed in front of Lu Yen. Chapter 1527. Marcia liked Lu Yen very much. How much did she like Lu Yen? Just now, Marcia wanted Lu Yen to help her back to the palace. Who was Marcia? She was the queen of H country. H country was not a backward country. As the queen of H country, not everyone was qualified to serve her. Marcia really wanted Lu Yen to be the future queen of H country. She wanted Lu Yen to be the lover of her son Richard. Although Lu Yen was an actress, Marcia's own son Richard was also an actress. In the eyes of H country, being an actress was not an unspeakable occupation. Z country might have regarded actors and singers as improper occupations in the past. A long time ago, only those who looked slightly better but had a lower standard of living would choose to be an actress. H country changed their views earlier than Z country in this aspect. Therefore, Marcia did not mind if an actress became the queen of H country. When Marcia chose her son's future wife, she never considered whether the woman was clean or not. Instead, she considered whether the woman would benefit her son's future and development. Lu Yen had a bright future now. Her international status was almost the same as Richard's. The only difference was that one was a movie queen and the other was a movie king. One was a man and the other was a woman. Therefore, Marcia liked Lu Yen because of Lu Yen's background and support. Therefore, when Marcia reached out to Lu Yen to help her back to the palace, Yun Jian suddenly kicked Lu Yen into the tulip field. Then she leaned over and put the shiny butterfly knife on Lu Yan's neck. Marcia was completely stunned. The people around did not understand why Yun Jian suddenly kicked Lu Yen into the tulip field. Marcia was even more confused. Of course, as the queen of a country, Marcia naturally could not reach out to help Lu Yen who was kicked into the tulip field. Marcia just looked at Yun Jian from the corner of her eyes. Her eyebrows were almost knitted into a line. She suppressed her anger and told Yun Jian that she could not be angry because she was the queen of a country. She calmed herself down and said to Yun Jian, "What are you doing?" "What plan?" "Let go of Yen Yen. Yen Yen is an honored guest of country H. Don't tell me that you Z people like to fight for no reason." After hearing Yun Jian's cruel words, Marcia did not take Yun Jian's words seriously. Even when Yun Jian saved Duanya from the truck and did such a terrifying thing, Marcia did not take Yun Jian's words seriously. Murder? A little girl like her dared to kill someone? Was he delusional? Marcia was used to exerting her authority as the queen, so when she spoke to Yun Jian, she sounded like she was giving orders. "That's right. Even the queen said so. Why did you hit me for no reason? Hurry up and put the knife away." When Lu Yen saw that Marcia was backing her up, she quickly spoke to Yun Jian. Although she was afraid that Yun Jian would place the butterfly knife on her neck, for the sake of her pride, Lu Yen refused to give in. "Thanks to you, my sister was able to stand on the road just now. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you?" Yun Jian sneered. Just when Marcia, Lu Yen, Richard and the rest thought that Yun Jian would not really do anything to Lu Yen, the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand was pushed a little harder towards Lu Yan's neck. Lu Yen was frightened by the sudden sharp pain and screamed. Blood gushed out and Marcia and the rest's faces turned pale instantly. What? Yun Jian's sister was able to stand on the road because of Lu Yen? This was not the point. Although Marcia was frightened by Yun Jian, she remained calm. When she saw that Yun Jian was pushing the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand again, she raised her voice to Yun Jian. "How dare you kill her in front of me? I even dare to kill you. Why wouldn't I dare to kill her?" Under Marcia's disbelieving gaze, Yun Jian was still aggressive. Chapter 1528. Please. I beg you. Please don't kill me. I was wrong. Yun Jian pushed the butterfly knife in her hand further and Lu Yan's neck started to bleed. Perhaps Lu Yan was frightened, or perhaps it was because of the intense pain. Lu Yan immediately screamed and begged for mercy with all her strength. The neck was a fatal spot and it was also the most difficult part to recover from. If she did not control her strength well enough, she could kill Lu Yan right away by pushing the knife against her neck like she was doing. Yun Jian controlled her strength well. She pushed the butterfly knife into Lu Yan's neck and Lu Yan would not die on the spot. Of course, if she was not treated, Lu Yan would die. However, Yun Jian controlled the butterfly knife and pushed it into Lu Yan's neck. Lu Yan would not die for a while. Queen Marcia did not expect that Yun Jian would dare to do it. Marcia, who had been pretending to be calm, could not help but stagger. She was obviously scared by Yun Jian. Then Marcia could not even say a word. Perhaps it was because Marcia had taken Yun Jian's, "I even dare to kill you, why would I not dare to kill her?" seriously. She did not utter another word as she stood on the side. Yun Jian then turned her eyes to Lu Yan. "Yun?" Richard wanted to say something but stopped when he saw Yun Jian's cold eyes. "Say it. Why did you set my sister up?" Yun Jian pushed the butterfly knife deeper into Lu Yan's neck every time she said a word. Although there were many bodyguards and servants around her, Marcia did not dare to say anything. Marcia, as the queen of H country, had a strong aura. However, compared to Yun Jian, she was far behind. Even the people around felt that Yun Jian was being ridiculous. Did Lu Yan set Duanya up? Was it Lu Yan who made Duanya stand on the road? Even if the people around didn't believe that Lu Yan was behind Duanya's incident, they had to hold their breath and look at Yun Jian. Just when Marcia and everyone else thought that Lu Yan was wrongly accused, in order to save her own life, Lu Yan did not care about anything else. She immediately spilled out everything that had happened to her. I was wrong. Let me go. I'm just, jealous. I'm jealous that you're able to obtain Prince Desmond's love. I didn't mean it. I was wrong. Don't kill me. As long as you don't, don't kill me. Whatever Prince I'll give it all to you. I won't pretend to be a lady in front of the queen anymore. As long as you let me go. Lu Yan was so scared that she started to talk nonsense. At this moment, Lu Yan could not think of anything else. Her mind was only filled with fear. What? Queen Marcia was shocked when she heard Lu Yan's words. So what Lu Yan did just now was all an act? Queen, as Richard's friend, I have to say that Lu Yan's current achievements were all due to her subterfuge. Yao Lily also said to Marcia. Yao Lily would not say anything more. He had already said what he wanted to say. What happened next would depend on Marcia's own opinion. Sure enough, as soon as Yao Lily finished his words, Marcia's face turned even uglier. Yun Jian did not kill Lu Yan. In the end, Lu Yan was sent away by the paramedics. If it was in her previous life, Yun Jian would definitely slit Lu Yan's throat. However, she did not do so now. That was because she had found a better way to punish her. If a person died, everything would be over. What else could be more painful than living a life worse than death? If a person died, there would be nothing left. Since Lu Yan dared to lay her hands on Duanya, Yun Jian would definitely ruin her reputation and make her live a life worse than death. She would not die a quick death like this. The deep scar on Lu Yan's neck was destined to leave a scar. It also meant that her glorious career in the entertainment industry would not last long. How dare someone lay their hands on Yun Jian's people? Chapter 1529. Lu Yan's matter came to an end. Lu Yan, who was sent to the hospital, was not well liked, so no one was willing to accompany her. At first, Queen Marcia had a good impression of Lu Yan, but now it was all gone. Not to mention promoting Lu Yan to be the future queen of H country, Marcia was not even willing to let Lu Yan enter the palace. Marcia was a very realistic person. She could like someone in an instant, but she could also hate someone in an instant. The like here had nothing to do with love. As for Yun Jian, Marcia did not say anything and left on her own. In the evening of the same day, Yun Jian took Xiao Yunju, the 3 children, and Si to play in the tulip field until late at night. Lin Wan, Yao Lily and Richard also followed Yun Jian and the others to walk in the tulip field. Rather than following Yun Jian and the others, it was better to follow Xiao Yunju and the other 2 children. Xiao Yunju and the other 2 children were very noisy. They jumped around in the tulip field and had a lot of fun. Yun Jian kept following them because she was worried that they would run to places where they should not run and fall. Si put his hands in his trouser pockets and followed wherever Yun Jian went. Si's handsome face, which usually did not show any smile all year round, now had a doting smile as if he had eaten honey. If one looked carefully, they would find that Si was looking at Yun Jian, who was chasing Xiao Yunju and the other 2 children. Even Lin Wan, Yao Lily and Richard, who were following behind, could feel his doting smile. Seeing this, Richard clenched his fist again and his pupils shrank. It was not until Xiao Yunju and the other two children were lying on the side of a tulip field, panting and resting, that Yun Jian stopped. The others who had been following behind also came up. Lin Wan and Yao Lili walked up to Yun Jian. Lin Wan looked at Ce and then at Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian, Sister Lily and I are going to the market near H country. We won't disturb your family anymore. After Lin Wan described Yun Jian, Ce and Xiao Yunju as a family, she did not wait for Yun Jian to react. She quickly turned around and grabbed Yao Lili, and the two of them flew away. Not knowing when, from a commoner who looked at the superstar Yao Lili with Yao Lili, Sister Lily. By the time Yun Jian realized what Lin Wan meant by family, Lin Wan and Yao Lili had already run far away. Then Yun Jian's face turned slightly red. After Lin Wan and Yao Lili left, there was only one outsider, Richard. But Richard had no intention of leaving at all. When Lin Wan said that Yun Jian, Ce and Xiao Yunju were a family, Richard almost went berserk. He felt that he could not control himself. He liked Yun Jian. Whether she was married or not, he wanted her. As the Prince of H country, Richard could have anything he wanted. This was the first time that he could not get something. So he was very persistent. When he thought of this, Richard felt that he had to start with the most basic conversation with Yun Jian. Just as Richard turned around to talk to Yun Jian, he saw Ce standing in front of Yun Jian. He held Yun Jian's head, bent his lean back slightly and kissed Yun Jian's rosy lips. Seeing this scene, Richard almost rushed over. But that was not all. Ce held Yun Jian's head with one hand and hugged Yun Jian's waist with the other. He pressed Yun Jian down on the tulip field. Chapter 1530. Ce pressed Yun Jian down on a patch of tulips. The patch of tulips that had fallen down seemed to have formed a natural bed for Ce and Yun Jian. Other than the patch of tulips that Ce was pressing down on Yun Jian, the other tulips on the field were still standing. The tulips weren't short. If someone were standing far away, they wouldn't be able to see the scene of Ce pressing down on Yun Jian. However, Richard was standing less than 5 meters away from Yun Jian and Ce. Richard could clearly see that Ce was kissing Yun Jian's lips and pushing Yun Jian down on the tulips. The two of them were in close contact, as if the clouds were a house and the earth was a bed. This scene made Richard want to die. Richard clenched his fists tightly and was so angry that his face was about to turn green. But what was worse was that Ce's hand, which was wrapped around Yun Jian's waist, slid from Yun Jian's back to her front. His large, well-defined hand even grabbed onto Yun Jian's ample bosom through her thin clothes. This scene made Richard so angry that he almost vomited blood. You guys. Stand up. Richard couldn't hold back and took a big step forward. His handsome face revealed a fierce expression. Oh, you haven't left yet. Ce's handsome face, which angered both men and gods, curved his lips slightly. After hearing Richard's words, he didn't pull Yun Jian up. Instead, he rubbed Yun Jian's ample bosom even harder. Oh. Yun Jian was kissed by Ce and had her sensitive area grabbed. Her rosy face couldn't hide her embarrassment and she couldn't help but let out a soft moan. At this moment, Richard was about to explode from anger. Get up. Get up. Richard took another big step forward and shouted. His upbringing as a prince told him that he could not go up and pull Ce off Yun Jian directly. It was impolite. Richard could only stand beside Yun Jian and Ce and shout at them. Xiao Yunju and the other two were playing hide and seek in the distance, so they didn't see this scene. The three children were having a lot of fun. Ce kissed Yun Jian in front of Richard for more than 10 minutes before he raised his head and cast a sidelong glance at Richard. Ce's handsome face made Richard feel inferior. But what could he do? He was the Prince of Country H and held a high position. Many women were waiting to climb into his bed. Ce was just a little more handsome than him. Moreover, he was also a handsome man. He was even an international superstar and an award-winning actor. Hurry up and get up, you two. Richard clenched his fists and said to Ce in a muffled voice. If it wasn't for his manners as a Prince of Country H, Richard would have rushed forward. When Ce heard Richard's words, his handsome face curved into a smile. I'm flirting with my wife. If you say get up, we'll get up, okay? At this moment, Ce looked down at Yun Jian. He shamelessly grabbed Yun Jian's ample bosom in front of Richard. There are tulips planted where you're lying. You're destroying the environment. So get up now. Otherwise, I'll punish you for destroying the environment according to Country H's laws. Richard dared not expose his thoughts directly, so he could only come up with an excuse. After Richard said that, Si stood up from Yunjian and reached out to help Yunjian up. Xiaojian, slow down. I'll help you up. Seeing that Si was probably frightened by what he said, Richard breathed a sigh of relief. It looked like he still had a chance to snatch Yunjian away from Si. Just as Richard thought about it, Si spoke again. Si was helping Yunjian up slowly from the tulips and said something that made Richard puke blood. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.